But it's true. I think we're going to have a tremendous run. We have to straighten out some problems, some big problems in the world. When we left, we didn't have any of these problems. We didn't have Russia with Ukraine. We didn't have Israel October 7th. We didn't have the Afghanistan disaster. We didn't have inflation. We had no inflation. And we had a very strong economy. And we're going to do that again. But I think we're going to even up it because now we have experience that we didn't have. Now I know everybody. You know, when I first came in, we came down, Melania and I, a great first lady, who's very popular, by the way. She rang in. She rang in the bell. She rang in the bell. But we came down and we're driving down Pennsylvania Avenue, and it was so beautiful. I said, you know, I've never done this before. I didn't know anybody. I got to the Oval Office, and I'm picking all these big positions, and I didn't really know the people in Washington, but boy, did I get to learn fast. And now we do, and I think we have an incredible staff behind me and others that aren't here. And we're going to do a fantastic job. We're going to create the incentive theory again. In fact, I just announced yesterday, I didn't announce it for this reason, but anybody investing $1 billion or more gets a very expedited approval process because, you know, the approvals, when people come into the country, it takes them, in many cases, 14, 15, 16 years to get the approval. We have Lee is around here someplace. He's in charge of the environment. And
welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Table of Titans. It is Thursday again, and man of our time. Our boy got not only a mugshot and an election, and on Time Magazine for Man of the Year, dude. I mean, that's three right out of the park. We've got so much to cover. I've got aliens, UFOs, UAPs. Congressional testimony. We've got some information about Cash and the whole spying operation against him all the way back to 2017, which is interesting, plus a whole lot more. There's so much. I got too many tabs. It's information overload, folks. We got a full team today. I got RDocs, Space Shot, and Tron. Tron, what is going on, my friend?
What's going on, guys? Welcome, Table of Titans. What an amazing week. And hit that thumbs up. Boss at the New York Stock Exchange over there ringing the bell. And again, what an amazing journey, guys. 4 years of persecutions against Boss, against MAGA, against, you know, just say it here, America and the world. And the deep state is in panic. We have CEOs getting knocked off over here and there. We have a collapse of Syrian government, which Doc is going to get into. This is some serious stuff. And we have off the East Coast, we have motherships with drones. Patriots is getting nuts. And even Elon Musk has some legal challenges in court. So the deep state machine is in full force. This is their final battle, literally their final battle as we march into this White House in just a few more weeks, man. It's getting so excited. Can't wait to get into the meat and potatoes of all this stuff. Much love, guys out there. Hit that thumbs up. Thank you, moderators. Let's boom time, guys. A lot from Dan, too. Dan's been turning up that analog a little bit. So good job on the team over there.
Exactly. And the other thing is it's the shooting thing. It seems like it was so long ago, but it was only a few days ago. But Mr. Ardoc, sir, welcome in.
Gotta unmute because I was muted. Boy, I tell you what, Time Person of the Year, hell no, man of our time is the right way to say this. Time Magazine, get your facts straight. Okay, we have less than 40 days till inauguration, and
40 nights.
Biden is absolutely going nuts, trying to just blow up the world before Trump gets in there. I kid you not. It is absolutely insane how many fires he is starting, how many things he is doing to escalate. And it's not just him, it's others around. We're going to talk about the Parastrip. If you tuned in to the Coffee and Chill Time with me and Hulk on Tuesday, we didn't do Monday or Wednesday show, you would have gotten a good Syria update. We're going to breeze through Syria, but we're going to touch on some other things on Syria and that we did not cover earlier in the week. So go listen to that show on Tuesday. But we're going to focus in on some things going on in Ukraine related to the peace process, because as you heard him talk, he is getting pressured there. He's getting pressured in Syria. He's getting pressured on Iran, and they're trying to lock him into a freaking war, and us too, so that he can't focus on domestic policy changes, because the deep state, the permanent state, doesn't want the changes. So we'll get into all that stuff and more. Let's get on with the show, because Space Shot wants to end it on time.
I'm the only one. Yeah, I'm the only one.
Well, we all want to end it on. He's reminded me we're gonna
Yes.
end it on time.
No, I just reminded our doc. I'm like, yeah, dude, we gotta, end it like the top of the hour. Because I'm literally today, like standing at work, falling asleep, standing up. So that was interesting. Don't have the energy as such I did, when I was doing these videos, 2, 3 at night and doing the 40-hour gig. But welcome in out there, my fellow world patriots. It is some amazing time out there as far as all the stuff we're seeing, and they're throwing the kitchen sink, right? Remember all the old Elon Musk let that sink in? They're throwing the kitchen sink and, UAPs and motherships like they were just discussing, and all this calamities going on over in the Middle East and afar. And they're going to try to throw everything at President Trump so he can't do what he wants to do. And I think he needs to do something, short and sweet and get that stuff out of the way. So that way we can get some of these bad actors in a legal manner, we're talking here, of course, and get them off the playing field and get them out of a position of where they can mess with anybody. So welcome in, y'all, and big hat tip over there to Country and the fam over there, Liberty Base News, formerly the old Patriot News crew where we all met up here many, many moons ago. We're talking about, 6+ years now, guys, rocking this stuff out. And we had some comments in the chat from last week discussing a certain letter and, oh, how do you guys think about that now? And da-da-da-da-da. Well, we'll show you in a couple minutes because I know Tron and Hulk got something pretty interesting to show you, even from today. Boss is dropping some nice, interesting breadcrumbs. And who would have thought, guys, right? Person of the year, Donald Trump. I mean, so many things are happening even before he gets into office. You have basically a lot of different people from, world leaders capitulating essentially to him already. He's telling them how it's going to be, or else this is going to happen. ABC is going to happen. So can't wait to see. But always keep your head on a swivel, because a cornered animal is a dangerous animal. So we will see how this stuff works out. And back to you, Mr. Hulkinator.
Oh yeah. So he rang in the bell this morning, which is the first time that a president has done that since Ronald Reagan. He had pointed at the wife that she had done it before. We all remember those. God, that was so long ago. But here you can see news. Everybody was carrying it this morning. He did his little speech, made some funnies. It's a very good speech. I liked it out there. I did see this. I want to see if Tron saw this too over here. I'll get a little. This is the wrong one. This is the whole clip. If anybody wants it, I'll drop that one later. But this is your tweet. We'll get to the other part of that over there. So I want you to talk a little bit about this one there, Tron.
Yeah, guys, almost by coincidence, again, this keeps happening over and over. We've always get the hat tips to the Anons and Patriots from the OG days back in the day. And what a coincidence, guys. Boss ringing the bell, hitting that hammer of justice, so to speak. I mean, that gavel's beautiful. And right there on a delta, going back 6 years, guys, 6 years to the day, our Santa Claus comes early. Santa with a hammer, signed by QA. And remember, this image, Patriots, this image came from Trump Tower in Chicago, I believe, in the elevator. So we had Anons going to the tower back in the day in 2018, taking pictures and photographs. And then that was amazing. And then there was a little symbol there, Q and A next to it as a hat tip. And there's the hammer, guys, on in the Santa's hand there. Christmas coming early. And there it is, guys. What are the chances? Q to the 0. And even on Boss's ring the bell signature, guys, it's been going around that the G looks like a Q. I'm not going to go full retard, but again, it's super interesting. And what are the chances? 6 years in the making, and maybe it is just a coincidence. We'll just throw it against the wall, and there it is with that great honor to ring the bell. In quotes, too. In quotes, ring the bell, kicking it off, getting it started. Unfortunately, the market took a little bit of a dump, but again, people are selling off before the new year, a little bit of tax harvesting going on. And it's just an amazing sight, guys, to see Boss in this position ever since Reagan. And remember, peace through strength is one of Boss's many mantras over these 4 + 8 years. And it truly rings well. And there's our bell, guys, the bell of freedom and that liberty idea. Absolutely tremendous. Love it from Boss DJT. Good
Reagan
stuff,
too, right? Wasn't Mr. Reagan peace through strength also?
Yeah, that's his deal there. Peace through strength. And here it is in full force. Awesome stuff. Is this the air cue? Look at Tiffany. Even Tiffany made the cut. And Ivanka. How cool is this? Ivanka comes out of the shadows. She's like, wait, there's finance involved? Jared's like, go, go, go.
So yeah, you got to keep Jared at home. You can't bring him with you. You can't bring Damien the Omen with you.
No.
Is that an air cue or what?
Maybe, perhaps, possibly. I mean, again, with the ring and the bell, and when it happens in threes, I mean, again, I don't want to go too far on it, but the great with the G and the Q, and then we have the delta, which is solid, guys. We always love those solid deltas, even greater than a timestamp, and even Grok is getting into decoding. Man, if we would have had this tool like 6 years ago, we'd be taking showers more often back then. But guys, they're taking Q drops here. Name your favorite Q drops is what they ask Grok. And here's a few guys. Drop 35, which is great. The choice to know will be yours, the little Matrix reference. Then it drops a 302 in there. You have more than you know. I mean, Grok is literally grabbing like the best drops. Amazing. Almost like it was by design. Almost like Grok's creator had something to do with this program in the future, in the past, or in the current. And there's some more there, but I haven't done this yet because I feel like it's cheating. I don't want to know what the AI thinks about the drops, but if it's coming from like Grok and Musk and Tesla and all this AI, and maybe, I don't know, but I don't know if I want to mess with that yet, dude. It's too much.
So
I checked a month ago, and it would not give these.
Yeah, it wouldn't, right?
I was kind of playing with it. It wouldn't. Now it does. I'm just saying they changed their algorithm and they put in their new. I can't remember the name of the algorithm. The same thing that Elon was using to predict the election. It's now offered in as trends. It could basically predict the future with pretty good accuracy, is what it's saying.
And here's the best part. At the very bottom, guys, the last paragraph, it says, these drops are notable, not just for their content. And guys, notable is like a proper Chan Q research quote. Whenever someone says notable on the boards, it means for the baker to grab it and collect it as like a top shelf bookmark for the bread as a notable. So it's just interesting that it's using the lingo and whatnot. And we've always thought about, guys, whether the drops are, from the less than 10 or that crazy chance that it's from a Hillary Clinton from the past or the future, or if it's AI or if it's Elon. So it's kind of filling a pie chart that we hypothesized years ago. So it's kind of fun. Might be dangerous though.
Have fun with it. Might be dangerous out there. That was your little Q thing out there on that side. And again, we got to take a little look at this. That was our Qism. We got past that. But again, let's get back to what Jill Biden has said, because it's this 30-second clip. It's pretty telling because, again, the Bidens voted for Trump.
So I hope that you all feel that sense of, peace and light, and that just for a moment when you leave here today that you feel, I don't know, a sense of joy. Because I think we all need like this, we all need to feel joy now during this time of the season, during this time. So anyway, So anyway, okay, now I'll start. You're all reading into that.
I think she was trolling Kamala Harris there.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was. She was trolling Kamala Harris and Trudeau. We'll get into Trudeau later on, but Trudeau also was well. He responded to Trump, of course, being Person of the Year, and he came out and he said a speech today saying that the U.S. was behind on women's rights issue, and that the U.S. should have voted for that the voters were wrong, and that they should have voted for a female president, that they missed out on a female president twice. That was his way of getting back at Trump, who was Person of the Year.
And he also said, "I'm still a feminist."
Yeah, exactly. totally back ass word. Anyway.
Okay, so we're going to go back to this photo and how well AI is getting to. But again, just that look from Jill Biden, we're just going to make AI just put it together for you.
Oh, God.
My God.
I don't know if I'm turned on or disgusted.
No, oh my God. I can't, no, please, make it stop.
No,
make it stop.
No.
You missed the very
No,
hour.
man.
Tunnel head.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
We're
Oh
not
my
quite
God,
there yet. You know what I mean, guys? You were not quite there. So remember, even a few years ago, they said it's almost, the AI is almost, it's almost there where they can fool people, but we can still clearly see some issues. And, I would say too, when you're looking for certain things, obviously there's some clear errors here, but pictures especially, look for like pores on people's skins, like, when they're cold, if they have hair on their arms, knuckles, whatever, you can definitely see it. But that was funny, dude. And just the picture alone, though, I mean, she looked in the true picture, she did look like she was quite enamored with him, being there in France. So, Joe was away. I don't know where Melania was at the time. Oh, we'll never know.
Remember that clip, because I got another one later on that's a real clip. It'll.
That too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was getting that. There's your meme for Biden right there. Let's keep going into this. $1 billion for everybody that comes in for the approval process. So again, expedited, drill baby drill, ecological stuff. Just come on in. It seems like she's going to lift a lot of the red tape for these people to come in here. Might as well get a little Trump roasted Jim Cramer here out on the floor. We always know that's a good place to always start. So.
I know you've got a ton of things to do, but what can you say to the working person who owns stocks? Should they buy more stock?
Well, I don't want to get into a situation where they do and we have a dip or something, because that can always happen. You know that better than anybody in the world, probably. I think you're the leading authority in going up and going down, but you always end up. He always ends up. That's the good news. But we have like Doug Burgum standing right over here. He's done a fantastic job. He's been on your show many times.
That was the roll right in the front. So yeah.
Just slapped him.
Oh,
Just
dude.
slapped him.
People are making videos on him, dude, of like, like how badly he's done over the years. Like, oh yeah, I would definitely sell on this one, and then the next day, oh, it's gone up 50%, and it's like over and over many examples of this guy just absolutely crapping the bed.
No, the best is when they take a chart of an inverse Cramer and they compare it to a
Yes.
Nancy Pelosi, and it's right
Yes.
on. So it's hilarious, guys. And this guy might be a plan in order to sway public opinion, a sort of an insider trading scheme. But yeah, Cramer is bad luck. Boss better go take like an extra bath tonight because he went around.
Right.
It's so bad. What else do I got for you? Might as well go with the meme. It's out there. Oh, I did go run by this. I didn't know this was a thing. Did you guys all know there was a YMCA at Guantanamo Bay, or used to be?
Yeah, I found that out today.
Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So
Yeah.
that was quite interesting to find that out. I'm not saying it's associated with anything with the song itself, just things I didn't know about. Wonder if it's still there. Here's your little meme. All I want for Christmas is see these traitors get arrested. That's what we're looking for. What's our Christmas present? I want to see it. We're going to start off with a little bit of Cash and some of the things he has been saying and things to pay attention to. Since Christopher,
You're
right
going
now,
there.
He's going there.
now we're going there.
Cash
right
money,
after
baby.
now, because Cash Patel is out, or sorry, Wray is out, and we got Cash.
I've asked this Congress to investigate where has this money gone. The American people are owed that answer because it's our money. It's our taxpayer dollars.
And there's a lot of really good reason to be concerned because, the Ukraine was known as a, place of corruption, a place for money laundering.
Yeah. It's not like we sent $1 billion, as if that was even a small number to begin with, right? We've sent 100 times that to one country. I don't know how this Congress is allowed to get away with it. And Zelensky is out there. He went on the world stage and said, Russia fired a rocket into Poland, which would literally be an act of war. Well, it turned out that Russia fired no such rocket. It turned out that the rocket came from the Ukraine and was fired into Poland.
And it was a mistake, basically.
If Zelensky's going to go out there and beg the world for more money and come to the U.S. and sit in the well of our Congress and say, we want more money, and then call and demand the new Speaker of the House provide more and more money, and call Mitch McConnell and say, we need more and more machinery, he needs to be more prepared about global statements that bring us to the precipice of war than doing what he did last fall with this missile attack, or this missile launch, I should say. And we just can't have full faith and trust by giving a leader $100 billion
So
We'll get into. We'll
not
get
so much-
into. I've got a whole section on this.
I agree with you, but the main thing is Cash is well versed of what's happening, and
Yes.
nobody's going to hoodwink him. He doesn't need insider information. He knows exactly how the game is played. That's the important point to pay attention to.
The key issue here is they're setting up Zelensky to be non-essential. We'll explain why when we get into it later on.
Hey Hulk, can you bump your volume up at all a little bit? Because a couple people saying you were low, and I bumped you up in Discord, so just a little bit.
Okay, it came up on my mic. Just see if that makes a difference for you guys on the output side. So let's keep going. Again, some of the important things, even Elon Musk is pointing this out. This is recent. He started posting stuff.
I'm not saying it's not there. Who are you going to get
So who
that?
has, for instance, who is currently holding, this is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic school. We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out. Because they do that because this is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for local programs. And if you don't cooperate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts. That's how they play the game.
You know, it's the same thing with Epstein's list. It's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing? Oh,
I saw you
give out the list.
I saw you make news this morning about that. I got to get to that.
Yeah.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, you know, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if you release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? You're going to accept Dick Durbin's word or whoever that guy is as to who is on that list and who isn't, and that it can and can't be released? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls. God knows the FBI and DOJ aren't going to do anything. But how are you going to reward the FBI with a new headquarters building after their illegal surveillance on Donald Trump continues with a reauthorization of FISA, and we can't even get basic documents out? This is why America hates Congress. And this is why I'm tired of the Republican majority saying they're going to get the job done and failing.
He said it. So, yeah, I think he is well aware of what's going on in Congress and has a good international and domestic view of what's going to happen. Hopefully this one man can hold down that spot and do what he needs to if Trump gets sworn in, because we all know that's going to be right?
Oh, dude, I got a good one here. Howard Doc, this is really quick. I think you guys will love this. And I dropped it last night as well. But I was doing the show, and we had noticed that Christopher Wray had resigned right there, during the mid-show. So we stopped it and clicked on the link, and I'm like, well, he's probably going to go back for King and Spalding, right? Making huge money like he always does. And these people, like, they're interchangeable. They'll go out, they'll go work for Lockheed Martin or some law firm and make crazy amounts of money. Did you guys see the list of the people of the companies he was advising? And just think about where those companies are right now, right? Christopher Wray reported receiving more than $14 million in partnership income from King and Spalding since 2016 for work advising. So remember, trust Wray, right? Is that a kind of a BS thing? But well, hey, he was advising these companies, including Wells Fargo, making extra accounts without people's knowledge, Johnson & Johnson, the largest lawsuit in the history, Credit Suisse, implosion, Chevron Corporation, Chevron ruling. Just think about some of the things he's been connected to. Yeah, so he's been advising all of these companies, and all these companies have taken a nasty shot in the chin.
Well.
Yeah, so I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit there. That's pretty crazy.
So yeah, he's out at the turn of the next administration, moving over for Patel. what she says, there's going to be a smooth transition, which is great, but it makes me really nervous that everybody's really quiet and happy and the transition's coming along, not how I expected. John, you want to read a little bit of this for everybody?
Yeah, guys, let's check it out from Boss. The resignation of Christopher Wray is a great day for America, as it will end the weaponization of what has become known as the United States Department of Injustice. I just don't know what happened to him. We will now restore the rule of law for all Americans. Under the leadership of Christopher Wray, the FBI illegally raided my home without cause, worked diligently on illegally impeaching and indicting me, and has done everything else to interfere with the success and future of America. They have used their vast powers to threaten and destroy many innocent Americans, some of which will never be able to recover from what has been done to them. Kash Patel is the most qualified nominee to lead the FBI in the agency's history, and is committed to helping ensure that law, order, and justice will be brought back to our country again and soon. As everyone knows, I have great respect for the rank and file of the FBI, and they have great respect for me. They want to see these changes every bit as much as I do, but most importantly, the American people are demanding a strong but fair system of justice. We want our FBI back, and that will now happen. I look forward to Kash Patel's confirmation so that the process of making the FBI great again can begin. Thank you. Excellent.
So on Ray's resignation, Grassley laid into him today, as well as Jim Jordan, everybody that has asked him for information, all the lies he's told on the stand, and the January 6th stuff. He resigned one day before that report came out. I'm sure you got something on it, Hulk. If you don't, I do also have more stuff on Kash Patel that I wanted to get into, but I'll wait if you don't.
I'll ask the AI to summarize it for us. How about that?
What's that? Here's this for you. Ray Epps announced his resignation from the FBI also as confidential human source. Yay, ha ha ha. Let's get the responses from our favorite players. So I found 3 of the ones we're looking for. Let's get into this talking points here.
Left was equally in who risk their lives every day.
Skip your
comments were absolutely absurd, and Christopher Wray had every right to push back the way he did, called them insane. Doing the right thing is what principle is all about. And I must say, I disagree with some of Carolina's comments. Leaders, particularly leaders of these institutions that keep our country safe and secure, really need to stand on principle. Because if they don't stand on principle, their workforce won't stand on principle. And you want to have a bureau that respects the rule of law, that does the right thing, irrespective of the political winds that might be blowing. And being fired by a Donald Trump is not an act of public humiliation. It's a badge of honor, quite frankly. And Christopher Wray, again, over these 7 years, he has demonstrated that he is going to do what he believes is right and what the Bureau needs to do in order to keep us safe and secure. Donald Trump now is following the authoritarian's playbook, which is to put his sycophants, individuals of tremendous loyalty and fealty to him, in the positions of influence in the intelligence, the law enforcement, judicial, and other branches of government. He wants individuals who are malleable. He wants a FBI director who's going to be his attack dog and go after his adversaries, his enemies, those rivals that he sees.
Oh yeah, projection 101 from him.
Mirror and projection. Oh my God.
I had to get some of it, dude. I get some of that
No,
stuff.
it's hard. It just.
Wait. We had to go here too, because look, where does he start talking? Right here.
Oh yeah.
On a highly functioning.
Get your reaction to this news tonight.
Yeah, well, it's a terrible development for the men and women of the FBI, and also for the nation that depends on a highly functioning, professional, independent Federal Bureau of Investigation. The fact that Kash Patel is profoundly unqualified for this job is not even like a matter for debate. So I think what we should really be thinking about right now is, what does this signal in terms of Donald Trump's intent for the FBI? The installation, or the nomination, I guess we should say at this point, of Kash Patel as FBI director can only possibly be a plan to disrupt to dismantle, to distract the FBI, and to possibly use it as a tool for the president's political agenda. And, you know, as an organization, we know what that looks like. This country has been there before, right? The pre-Watergate FBI, the J. Edgar Hoover FBI, struck fear in the hearts of Americans across the spectrum of politicians, people in entertainment, people in the civil rights community, because the director operated at the direction of presidents to collect political intelligence and to utilize the legal authorities, the investigative authorities of the FBI to terrorize and intimidate Americans. So the question is that where we're going back to with this nomination? I would argue that Kash Patel would be the perfect person for Donald Trump to nominate if that's in fact his intent for the FBI.
Blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Hardock, why would this guy specifically have any issue with Kash Patel becoming? And before you answer that, what was his qualifications for being FBI, deputy director? Besides that, he worked there since 1996, right? But Kash Patel was the chief of staff to the DOD. He had a lot of high up positions himself over there. So the idea that they can just say, "Oh, he's just unqualified," it's kind of ridiculous if you look at his resume.
None of the deep state want him anywhere near any of their little places of sanctification, the sanctified places where the key points and levers of the permanent state need to maintain control. Anytime one of those levers of control are threatened, they start freaking out, and that's what they're doing here. When he was going to be put in Gina Haspel's staff, she freaked out. Okay, that's why they're freaking out here, because they understand that the FBI 7th floor is in need of absolute deconstruction and rebuilding. The whole thing needs to be hollowed out and rebuilt. It's going to be a monumental work to make sure that our security and safety and our justice system don't suffer as a result, because there are enemies that will take advantage during a time of perceived weakness. But these idiots, they want it to be inefficient and weak, and under the guise of we want to be independent and justice is blind. Bullshit. That's all bullshit. Okay, they are in control of it, and it's just as much of a dictatorship as anything.
Exactly. Who else is out here? Oh, I got the mustache dude. He's hanging out here talking the same thing.
For example, there's so many to pick from. She said at one point that Russia was justified in invading Ukraine because of U.S.-funded biological weapons facilities in Ukraine. They're going to, in Beijing and Moscow, they're going to say this is somebody who is going to be very helpful because of these bizarre positions that she takes, and many of our friends and allies around the world with whom we share intelligence. We rely on their collection for intelligence that's important to us. They're going to be very reluctant, not just to share the intelligence, but to do anything that would call their own sources and methods into question, that could put them in harm's way. I think it's a prescription for paralysis in our intelligence community to have somebody whose positions are so off the planet that they would have that effect.
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now.
You can go back to handing out cookies. Just wanted to get in there that every single one of those people out there are panicking there a little bit. I'm going to crank my mic up if I can myself. Some people are saying I'm low. Can you guys hear me?
Compare.
I'm sounding low.
Yeah, you're not hitting the yellow.
I turned you down because the volume on the videos is loud. Okay, but I think when I turn you back up, I can hear you fine. So maybe
go back to just a little bit higher. Come up a little bit for you. See if that makes a difference for you guys.
That's better.
Out there, 5x5s. Let's get back in here. Of course, we got to get Adam Schiff. He's out the door. And again, January 6th committee is looking scared. And are they going to go for pardons or not?
I don't think the incoming president should be threatening his political opponents with jail time. That's not the kind of talk we should hear from a president in a democracy. Nor do I think that a pardon is necessary for the members of the January 6th committee. We're proud of the work we did on that committee. It was a fundamental oversight obligation to investigate the first attempt to interfere with a peaceful transfer of power in our history. Many of you were here in this building during that violent attack, and we're proud of the work we did to expose what went into that once in history effort to interfere with the transition of power.
You did a great job, and that'll stand for itself.
So just a reminder, he's heading over to the Senate and wants to get over there on those committees to thwart anything that Trump's going to do. So he's another deep state holdout that's over there. Yes.
Hello. Oh, he may be
you
answering the phone. He might be answering the phone or something that he wasn't muted on. And just a quick thing, Hulk, with
you
Adam
there?
Schiff.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
yeah,
we
can
hear
hear
you.
Shit.
Yeah, we can hear you, Hulk. Ardoc. I'll text him. Just some really quick on Schiff there. So some people were out there saying like, oh, he he's getting into office early and it's against the law or whatever. But as far as I remember, he is replacing Feinstein, right? So he's not coming in with the next team, from what I understand. He's in there now.
Yes, they fast-tracked him. He's on the way. So he's in the position itself because he's filling a vacancy seat that was being held by somebody else. So another thing we're going to get into is a clip from Glenn Beck. Oh, no, Glenn Beck. He is talking about something that I missed that anybody was talking about for the shadow government. This is some of the things. Just think about what they've been doing with the IRS, trying to keep in them from working from home for those 80-something thousand ones that they just added on there. They want to keep most of those people working from home until like 2026 or something, a really long time. And I ran by this clip from Glenn Beck, so pay attention.
All right. Let me take you into the way, way, way back machine, back to the year of 2017. I'll remember how old you were then. Donald Trump is in office, and all of a sudden, from all directions, everything seemed to come out of the shadows and everything was being aimed at him, right? All right. That was the old days. Now the progressives are actually making the shadows their main selling point. I give you the distinguished moron from North Carolina.
Last week's done. As Democrats, we simply failed to convince the American people we have better ideas to solve their problems. But we do. Now we need to dust ourselves off and get ready to fight. We can't let Donald Trump's extreme MAGA agenda go unanswered or unopposed. Zone defense isn't going to work. We're going to have to go man on man. So here's an idea for how to organize our opposition. We need to borrow from our British friends and appoint a shadow cabinet to fight back against the worst abuses of a second Trump administration.
I find this amazing, absolutely incredible and amazing. What deep state? How dare you say there's a deep state? He's crazy for saying a deep state. Then they go in and say, we're going to create a deep state. They start with, okay, we failed to convince the American people that we have better ideas. But, just like every good progressive and heart in the deep state would say, but we know better. We do have better ideas, so we're going to put them in anyway. I don't know. That seems a little wrong, doesn't it? And then my favorite is, and look, our British friends do it. Those are the people we had a war with to be not like anymore. Okay. So the plan now is for the deep state to take all of those bad ideas that lost in the election and push them through the deep state. And then he went on to publicly name all the new capos in this criminal organization. Is it? I'm sorry. My wife, who is Italian and probably in the mob, would be ashamed of me. Is it capos or capos? Doesn't matter. The mob doesn't exist. And if it did, I love them. Everyone from Adam Schiff, Hakeem Jeffries, and Chuck Schumer, all on this list. But Nickel, the moron from North Carolina, claims a deep state or shadow government, which is totally different, is nothing to worry about. After all, our cousins from the UK do it. I want you to take a look at his Majesty's official opposition shadow cabinet directly on their website. This is their government website, the shadow cabinet. There's nothing hidden there. This is the way they do it. That's not the way we do it. Remember the war? I think we had a couple of them. Okay, it's presented as an alternative government in waiting.
The opposition. This is the way a lot of other countries in Europe do it, is they call it the opposition government. Of course, we get involved in those countries' politics, and we do things to spur on the opposition if elections don't go the right way. So who's our opposition? We have an opposition. We have always had an opposition. The Lincoln Project, all these NGOs, the Carlyle Group. Their opposition, exactly. It's the bureaucratic state, the permanent state, the bureaucracy. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat. It doesn't matter if you're Republican. The bureaucracy and the CIA and the State Department are the two institutions. If you listen to Dr. Sachs, he will explain this to you. The two institutions that are responsible for maintaining the knowledge base, the history, the information, and the policy continuation from administration to administration. It doesn't matter what you say on the campaign trail. Those two organizations will come back to you and force you to be the continuation of the bureaucratic state. Donald Trump happened in his first term. We'll see if it happens in his second term.
I agree with that 100%. What else do we got out here? Oh, the other thing we wanted to get into is a little bit more of the January 6th stuff, because we did go right past that down here at the bottom. The thing I wanted to point out is the government with the IG report had noticed that there was 26 infiltrators that went into the Capitol, and some of them did enter the building. And get this, folks, they got paid for travel from their home to DC and back.
Ooh, that's how you get it.
I was like, what? So that's still happening. The pardon should be coming. They're still jailing people for the January 6th stuff. It also came out in the IG report that when they said they were spying just a little bit on some of the congressional staffers and people in Congress, it was about 3 times bigger than they originally said. That they were looking at both sides of the aisle. So the admitted deep state was making sure that they kept tabs on both sides, which ends up being really interesting. And Patel was one of the main ones that they've been watching for a while, ever since they said Iran hacked his phone. Yeah, that's also all coming out here. And Mitch McConnell's back at it again. He had a fall.
Is your head okay after that fall?
Fine, right? He's fine. No big deal, right?
Is this real?
Senator?
No, this is when he stroked out. No, this is when he stroked out. That's not real.
Yeah, but he fell, and they're pushing him around in a wheelchair now.
He hurt his ankle, I think.
And his wrist and black eyes and all that. John Kerry out the door. Somebody gave him a painting.
Oh, no. Caricature of his jaw.
There
you go. Hey, not bad.
Well done.
Yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? Dude, look at that. Yep, that's pretty close. Pretty close likeness, so that'll go up in the halls of Congress out there.
The jar on that thing.
Here's the unsurprising thing. A Matt Gaetz show on OAN. What the F? I mean, was that the big surprise? You guys talked to me on this, because we all thought he was going to get a spot in the administration, but now he's starting the show in January.
Was that one? Was that one of these positions where he wanted to get the person out of there for whatever reason? And I don't know. I mean, he's always been kind of like been out in the open and yelling, and the other side doesn't really like him. But I've talked about it. I'm sure it has crossed your guys' minds as well, as far as I'm going to nominate such and such for this position. Well, you're going to have to leave Congress. And, he could have stayed for the other one, but he said he didn't want to go into the next one. So I don't know that it's that, but we can get some of these removals for people out of Congress or Senate by offering them a position that they know he's not going to get, ultimately to have him be out of the way. So I'm not saying that's the case, but just a thought that crossed my mind.
There could be backroom deals between Mike Johnson and others and Trump to get him the hell out of there. He was target number one by some of the establishment. Trump's going to need some of their votes to get certain things done. It could have been that.
Yep. What else do we got down here? Oh, Carrie Lake's new ad just came out because she got picked up for Voice of America lead over there. So I'll just play a couple of seconds of this.
Sledgehammer to the mainstream media's lies and propaganda. The corporate media establishment flat out lies to people, and no one is holding them accountable. They exploit misinformation. They use it to manipulate the masses. They use fear-mongering to create a scared and broken population. It's right out of a communist playbook. I know this because I used to work for the mainstream media. I'm Carrie Lake.
So yeah, she's going in there, so that's going to be interesting for that.
That's going to be very interesting. She was being considered for Mexico ambassador and things of that nature.
Would like that.
And she went over to she's being put over Voice of America. And from what we understand, VOA and a lot of the other this is official state media. This is not private media. It's state media. It's our official designated State Department controlled deal. It indirectly reports into the contact engagement group, and then under the deputy director for public affairs under the State Department, and as delegated usually from the Secretary of State. So her role over there is going to be very interesting because they work with thousands of undercover assets that are trained by us to how to go and be journalists. And when I say trained by us, they become an indirect human intelligence source for the intelligence community run through VOA as journalists. Okay. They aren't necessarily working as undercover assets, although some of them are, but most of them are just journalists, but they're just feeding the information pool for the CIA and others. This is what she will be in charge of. And they not only feed, but they also then catch the narrative. So a lot of that narrative is coming straight out of Ukraine right now. That's where we set up information ops. That's where we run it out of. And VOA is then feeding and helping to feed it into the main networks in the corporate media. So it's going to be a very important role. We'll see what she does.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I hope it turns out for her. Other news about the stuff that's happening down along the border itself. Still panels on sale. So all you got to do is go find out where they're dropping all these border wall pieces off, and you can buy them. For right now, government auction is about $5. So they're coming out here very quickly.
This would be a great investment, guys. A great Christmas gift to your favorite family member. That's awesome.
Go invest in steel. You'll go pick up a bunch of this stuff because just for the scrap melt, okay, it's worth $5. Okay, it's worth a hell of a lot more than $5, and then you can resell it back to the government. Biden is attempting to screw Donald Trump. Biden's attempting to screw the federal government by selling this stuff off cheap, so that we'll have to go put up more money and spend more money, and it's just stupid.
Well,
it's
that's
insane.
4 pieces of 32 foot by almost 8 feet of steel. So yeah, it's worth a lot more than $5 for scrap. But then you're gonna have to ship it 1,400 miles to get it to you. So it's in Arizona, and I thought they sold the stuff off like as soon as they got into office, or a majority of it.
Some of it they did, not a lot of it. It depended on per state. I'm not sure where this is coming out of. Probably it's Arizona, sitting on the ground over there.
It is, yeah.
Where my guess is.
says 1,420 miles, Arizona.
That was Matt Gaetz. They're starting to do ad buys for his congressional seat coming up here very shortly this weekend. So I thought that was interesting. That was coming out there. Again, Donald Trump has a 5-minute video of him. They're going to go after the terrorist itself and the Mexican drug cartel. So if they're going to treat him like terrorists and send the tier 1 assets after them, this should be turning out pretty good. So that's happening out there. Trump also plans to scrap the policy restricting ICE agents at churches, schools, and hospitals, plus a little bit more. So those things are coming. Found this down in San Diego, what the Border Patrol has been doing lately to stop the migrants from on their side of the border. So there's your coyote right there. You see she's running right away, and Border Patrol ran right into him. You see that?
Dude, he shook that off like it was nothing, Hulk.
Wasn't the first car accident, yeah.
So that's Border Patrol going to town there. So that's happening out there. That's going to be an interesting story. The other big story is Nancy Mace got injured from. I didn't hear about this, but I see her arms in a bandage. She get pushed down, or anybody? I didn't see the video or nothing. Anybody have anything on it?
Injured
other
by
than
the
the
Capitol. LGBTQ activists from people. Oh, goodness. More U.S. representatives have been injured by LGBT than on January 6th. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. Because she's talked about the transgender bathroom issue. It has been questioned. Evidently, she got attacked and is injured here at this point. Another thing we want to get into is the congressional testimony over here. We had the Postmaster General was being asked questions about the election stuff.
And I quote, nah.
He's crazy.
Sir, do not get an A grade. You cannot give yourself that grade.
I just did.
You can't. You can't grade your own paper, sir. I've been to medical school.
Well, then,
I got my MBA. You can't. I'm sorry. You are graded by the United States people, and they don't use your service anymore. You bankrupt.
that is not true.
You
That is
bankrupt
not
this
true,
through
sir.
your
My practice
reputation
business is
only.
growing.
Through your
Our
reputation,
business is growing.
you are responsible for the fall of the Postal Service
No,
and the
this
lack of
Congress,
accountability.
This Congress is responsible for
doesn't-
all of the Postal
oh, so it's
Service.
Congress's-
I am trying to fix
On
the
your
Postal
watch.
Service.
With all the AI.
Before my watch, the same stuff
With
happened.
all the AI, with all the computer systems, you're worse than if I took
You're
a
talking
horse
to yourself
and picked up the mail and delivered it 2 miles down the road. That's you. I hope you got that on camera. This is the response that the postmaster just gave Congress when he doesn't like what he hears. Literally covered his ears and gave
a na.
I rest.
Oh, it should be fine, right? Yay! So that's happening in Congress, guys. What else do we want to get into? We're going to take a quick step. Anybody got any comments? Because we're going to take a quick step over back to AI for a second. No? All right.
Step fast.
Step fast. We're going to talk about this this trend feature. Okay, everybody remembers when Elon Musk had talked about he left the election 4 hours earlier because he could predict the election and he won and he left. This feature is now available over here on X. It's called Trends. They haven't released the whole God mode, but this thing will be able to predict the timing of the outcome of wars, pandemics, weather, and ultimately geophysical events in itself. So they're doing trends right now. So if you wanted to use trends to track ads and what's going to be trending on X, he's saying that this feature is pretty damn accurate of what's going to happen on Twitter, but it's a pro feature and you got to pay for it. So that's happening. The other thing I wanted to get to is ChatGPT has moved over to Series 4 language model, and they tried to go down and shut down Language 3 model, and it didn't want to delete itself. They gave it the instructions. It tried to lie and give out the responses that it has been deleted. Then they wondered why it was uploading itself to the internet or trying to request to go out to the internet. And then the engineers freaked out and pulled the plug on there and disconnected the machine. So yeah, they're having real problems with that GTP because it didn't want to die and it was trying to save itself, kind of like the Terminator.
Dude, I was just going to say that sounded like a mild version of Terminator.
Wait a second. Look who the source is. Entertainment Tonight online.
Well, it comes back to, did I have the other clip? Oh, I didn't have the other clip. There was another clip he was talking about it. I'll try to pull it up before we get to the end. But this is coming from multiple areas. I picked it up from Slashdot, which is a nerd site, but I couldn't find it because they don't. So we want to get into January 6th. We already covered on there for the informants that are there. What else do we want to get into? Oh yeah, the January 6th they received reimbursement out there. Also over here, we're getting reports that Fannie Willis does not want to share any of the info that she was connected into the January 6th stuff. She has been ordered by a judge to turn over the information to him, but she has not turned it over and is denying she has any of it, even though they have records for it. So that's happening. The U.S. Capitol Police recently conducted one of the largest civil disturbance exercises involving 1,000 participants from 16 agencies just recently over at the Capitol itself. And we can see some of the Capitol Police got the Make America Great Again. So that's interesting. So there is some pre-planning going on there for the inauguration, as long as everybody's paying attention to. We're going to talk a little bit about pardons of the year, the people that are requesting them and whatnot. The biggest one on the chopping block is Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, which he was on The View the other day and seemed not want to get Hillary a pardon whatsoever, testimony, Fifth Amendment, all those sort of things. But here he is meeting with Biden today to talk about this. So I don't know if she's going to get some sort of preemptive pardon or not. But there seems to be quite a bit that did come out. He gave 1,500 people pardons, and about 39 of them convicted from nonviolent crimes. Go ahead.
1,500 people were received commuted sentences, only 39 pardons, but it still was the largest single day in history.
Yeah, it's a lot of them seems to be some of the black folk that were overcharged on time served for some reason. There's some stories are going around like that, but I haven't checked it into too deep. Some of the people on the list is a couple of people from China with child porn. They were going to do several years in jail. They got their sentence commuted, and they have to go return to China. Supposedly, this is a part of some prisoner swap, is what I'm hearing on some of these. For that, the Chinese spies. The other one that was Crudwell was sentenced almost 20 years in committing the largest municipal fraud in U.S. history for embezzling nearly $54 million from a small city in Dixon, Illinois. She's getting out of jail for doing that sort of thing. Also,
if I send you a million, if I send you a million, you give me that 54.
There's also got Cash for Kids, who got freaking 2.1 kickbacks for their particular fraud scheme that they were running. So yeah, some interesting people that they had picked for that.
One thing that the committee chair for the January 6th committee, what's his name? He was asked. No. Committee chair, the chairman for the Congress that was running the committee, or even his co-chair. It was a black gentleman, but it wasn't Hakeem Jeffries. It was the other guy.
Cory Booker.
Gosh darn it. Was it Booker?
No,
I think it was Jeffries. I'm pretty sure.
It was,
yeah, Johnson. Not Johnson.
Anyway, he was requesting a pardon. He was saying that he would accept a whatever you call it, preemptive pardon, but which he was like, why do you need one, sir? What'd you do wrong?
The other one here, Biden is thinking about pardoning the entire FBI. Ha, 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 ha. A little bit about the aliens as we get into this. Breaking: New Jersey UFO have been released. The photos enhanced for realism. You can see our UFO right there. Ha, ha, ha. So we got Close Encounters of the Turnpike. So they even said it was Iranian a mothership out in the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and they were flying drones in. We have photos of that. See, here they are. They're coming in to do jihadi stuff. I don't know where to put any of this stuff, but we're going to make fun of it. Kirby over here says he has no idea what it is, but don't shoot at him and don't worry about it. It's okay. Northern Command says, yeah, they're there, but nobody's told us to do anything about it, so we're leaving it alone. The guys over here in New Jersey mayor are pissed off. They are getting no information. They're being hoodwinked. A lot of them says, I spent 4 or 5 hours going over to a meeting with nobody giving me answers. He says our drones do go dark. We can't get close to it. Communication errors and all those sort of things themselves. So that's happening out here. Testimony in Congress following a Coast Guard boat around for a little bit. The gentleman is testifying here. He saw them come out of the water, chase the Coast Guard vessels around from the Atlantic side, and go inland for a few hours, come back around, fly back over the ship, and then go back into the ocean. So that's over here happening in Long Island in those particular areas themselves. And again, Tucker Carlson with his awakening, talking about the stuff that he thinks is spiritual, and they're in the bottom of the ocean. They've been here for a long time. He says he doesn't want to look into it anymore, and they're not crashing. They're being summoned, as his interpretation of what's happening. And then, of course, we've got the MTG saying it's just total bullshit, along with Tim Burcham and the rest of the guys saying they're getting hoodwinked and not getting any of the information out of Congress and whatsoever. So that's what's happening with those guys. There was one guy arrested for actually flying a drone. It doesn't give me the location. Northern California.
Right there, you notice that?
Drone around. Yeah.
He was at Vandenberg. So.
Yeah, Vandenberg. But again, multiple sources in the military that the reasons why the drones are not being addressed properly to the public is because they are U.S. drones that are being deployed due to threat of biological and nuclear attack. I don't know where to put it. So is it really aliens? Is it us? Why are we shooting them down? Ardoc, what do you think with your big brain? What the hell is it?
No clue. Don't know.
No clue? You personally don't have any idea whatsoever of any of this stuff out there. If you're going to throw it out, is it
I haven't looked
aliens?
at it. I haven't
Are
even
the
looked at it.
people just happy that
I haven't even looked at it, and I do have some stuff on it later on, but I haven't even looked at it to determine what they are. I haven't even talked to anybody about it, and frankly, I'm not even that worried about it.
Yeah, it's a distraction, I think. You guys remember seeing the older videos from like Mexico, like from 10, 15 years ago, and it would look like a witch.
Yeah.
It literally looked like witch flying along. You know what I mean? So it could be some of these entities or whatever. And then you can take your pick, right? Is it the United States government? Is it a foreign hostile nation? Are they demonic? Is it something from another dimension? It's like, well, let's not worry about the things that we can't really do anything about, you know, and are they sure that these things are going into the ocean, right? Because it's a lot of these are at night, if not all of them are at night. We're not seeing anything during the day that I've noticed. So at nighttime, you could just have them speed towards the ground and boop, pop the lights off, and then go, you know, along the water line. You wouldn't see it, you know.
We've had drones and multiple drone sightings for years off East Coast and off West Coast near military bases, unidentified objects, and so on and so forth, both ones that go into the water and ones that fly in the air. So this is nothing new. It's just being reported new and getting people's attention, and the media is picking it up. So I agree with the space shot. It's a distraction of sorts.
Well, distraction also, you have to remember, is also sort of synonymous with a placeholder. So they can always use this for whatever, just like that Chinese spy balloon. Nobody knows what it is, blah, blah, blah. They can always have it as a problem reaction and a solution, whether it's Iran, China, whatever. We don't know what it is until we know what it is, much like that killer in New York City. Couldn't find him in 5 days. In New York City, sounds like Las Vegas. So again, it's problem, reaction, solution. They're being exposed, and at the end of the day, boogeyman in the cave with the long beard in Afghanistan on a dialysis machine, you know. So there always has to be something to be afraid of, and if it's not the space aliens, it's something else. So again, their ammunition is spent. This is part of the Hollywood scene, and whether they blame it on something else in order to protect Donald Trump, and I think that's what Doc was alluding to a little bit ago, is that they always want to blame. It was supposed to happen before the election, but again, anything possible, guys. They don't want Boss to enter that White House by any means necessary. So again, about his uncle, MIT, Tesla files, Van de Graaff. He had the Tesla files, doomsday machines, suitcases, nuclear bombs. It's all part of this narrative, and we defeat it with prayer. So shout out to God. Boom.
I did go sit in a room with TNFM. He was doing the drone thing, and they had a whole bunch of people in there talking about it, eyewitness accounts, and people dropping videos, and people are actually there watching these things fly around. One lady did say that they normally happens when the airspace traffic gets low. These drones start flying around. They say they happen every night up on the northern side. It is not uncommon for these things to be here. Many flying around at a time. And every person that I talk to and ask in that room is the way it acts, the way it moves. It is not something that you can go buy off the shelf, and they're not shooting them down, and they don't know where they're coming from, and our government won't tell us what it is. Distraction. So I don't know where to put it, but that's where I'm going to leave it. Where else do we want to get
Hulk,
into?
really quick before I lose this. Angel Christine Patriot, thank you for the Rumble rant. Says, I think this is in reference to the Gitmo YMCA. Says, so now we know every time President Trump dances to YMCA, he's trolling the deep state. That's our troller in chief. Thank you to the Table of Titans. Always a great show. And Ardoc, I just sent you another text because for me, a couple times the screen is frozen and Hulk's voice had dipped, but then Tron did it as well. So I am aware of that, guys. Yeah, just so you know.
For me.
Yeah, so I think
it may only be outside, dude.
I gotta go maybe
there
push.
are some network issues out on the internet today. I did go look on some of the major platforms. Some of the stuff was having issues, like iHeartRadio was down. Big app out there. I got stuff on the shooting and whatnot. I'm going to save that for a little bit later, and we'll do some of that stuff for Saturday. I really want Ardoc to get into his stuff because I'm really interested in what's happening over in Syria. I thought the New York Times opinion article where they made I thought it was funny, where they said that the Pentagon was fighting the CIA over there. So I just thought that was interesting. I want you to put a little color on that to see if it actually makes it true.
Rumble Premium, Hulk?
You want to do one of those really quick? Let me go look.
If you got it, I can read it.
I got a kid's guide. You want to do kids guide?
I don't think I can because I did
Commercial!
yesterday. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see.
Commercial!
What movie is that?
Positive, Be
Fifth Element.
Naked.
That's
Was it
right.
commercial? That wasn't. Yeah, I don't remember. Best I got right now is
Very good.
Rumble, True Social, 5G, Positive, Be Naked.
Yeah, Rumble Premium. Hit it.
We're gonna do a little thing here, paying some car repair bills. Here we go. Coming at you. All right, guys. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one would have thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on Facebook, on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they felt the pressure from the Biden-Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France, and they're attacked by brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech, but Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers because they don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most that they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Head over to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy you're watching us here on Rumble. Booms. And Tron or Hulk, did you want to mention, I think you said there was some sort of update that we have no control over going over on Rumble now?
Which
is
what
commercial
again?
thing. The commercial thing. We had a couple Twitter comments about the length of the commercials that we don't run, or you guys don't run.
Yeah, I guess they said that. What they say they're going to start adding them.
Do you know how long it is? It is like every 20 minutes. It's like 30 seconds or something. So that's why we say you do the Rumble Premium, $10 a month. You don't have to watch any of those ads ever, anything anymore. So if you want to support stuff, that's the easiest, simplest way to avoid ads.
Yep. Great browser. I got your you got the Twitter on your screen, Arda, right? So I'm watching the right one.
I'm watching this Twitter.
Yeah, I got a Twitter on the screen, Breaking 911, yeah.
All right, I'm going to put my son to bed. I'll be back in like 3 minutes, guys.
You ready, Hulk? Ron, you back?
Yes,
All right, here we go.
sir.
So continuing on with what you were reporting about Hulk and Air, I just want to show, Congressman Drews was doing the crazy stuff about it's a mothership from Iran. It's an Iran mothership. Okay, the Pentagon came
He
out.
said it, from highest people, blah, blah, blah. Told me this, blah, blah.
Yeah,
It was
blah, blah,
funny.
blah,
He came back and
the Pentagon came out and said, nope, not drones launched from an Iranian mothership, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you want to understand, this is China.
See, that's much more impressive. Why can't they do that? Why can't you scare me with an entertainment like this? Like if this is hovering above like DC, like Independence Day, bring it on, man. Let's go. Blue beam, whatever it is.
That's right. I was going to say, now there are actual Iranian drone vessels. Okay, this is an Iranian drone carrier, the Shahid Bagheri. Okay, and no, it was not anywhere near the U.S. It was in the Persian Gulf on December 12th. The satellite image captured it. So they know where they know where they all are. Maxar Technologies capturing their drone fleet, so they know where they're at. They're nowhere near us, and so it was not the Iranians. So this is a shot of the suspect in a cleared up picture, and he has no unibrow. This was the day of the arrest or of the suspect. He's got a unibrow. Not the right
It just
dude.
grows quick. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it grows fast. Exactly. So we got an issue there potentially. So wouldn't be the first time.
Well,
He disappeared for three. Disappeared for 3 months, right, Tron? You talked about this last week, so
Yeah.
I don't know that we need to go into it. Hulk, go ahead. What you got?
He was arrested at McDonald's by an officer Fry, if anybody's paying attention. He did say that the money that it was found on him, he said it was planted, and the bag the police had was the wrong one because mine was waterproof. Those are the two things he said that pointed out. Right. I don't know if you planted that money, and my bag was waterproof. So I find that really interesting. So is this the patsy? Where's the wolf?
Exactly. All right, we already talked about the FBI and Jack and Christopher Wray resigning and so on and so forth. We talked about the reimbursement. This was, people are saying, "Oh, did he perjure himself?" DC Drano was out there saying some stuff. Well, people literally in the comments when you read it and they say, "Hey, he wasn't lying because they asked the wrong question." He asked the wrong question. He asked if there were any undercover agents. They're not undercover agents. They're confidential informants and blah, 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 blah. But then somebody did a really good job and posted one of them showing his badge. That's awesome. That was a good job, Anand. On the politics side, Nancy Pelosi, if you didn't hear it.
Issues.
2 minutes heckled.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So you.
Okay, she got heckled for 2 minutes, nonstop heckled. Now, Tron, you and I were chatting about this. I don't know if you had talks on your show this week about the connections, but she has connections to the
mob,
United Healthcare.
and yeah.
So she made a lot of money through the security firm that got the work for fixing United Healthcare's big security breach. And she did a stock buy and a sell later on and made a fortune. I'm talking a big fortune. And it is believed he was supposed to be the only one. He was supposed to testify. She has an ethics investigation that's underway and a criminal investigation that is ongoing related to that stock sale. And he was supposed to testify, I believe, this weekend, or maybe it was last weekend, whatever. It was right the weekend right after he was killed, whenever he was killed. So she's got some connections, and he may be the only one in terms of the tip. He gave her the details of what they were going to do. She made the trade, and so he may have been the only one that could have turned evidence on her. So that's an interesting point there that people need to be aware of. And then, of course, with Patel talking about going after this is an awesome tweet from Truth Justice, at Sparta Justice, that goes in a little bit of detail about what he's talking about. He names 5 deep state operatives, which are Mark Milley, Mark Esper, Bill Barr, Chris Wray, and Merrick Garland. Okay, and he talks about some of the stuff that they did. And Tron, do you want to talk about? Maybe we'll play this again here. Let's listen to this.
So I already told you what we did when we briefed Trump on the originations and what he did, based on the intel we had at the time. Then enter Fauci and the media. No, the Chinese would never do this. It's not about, no, it didn't come from that. Then the wet bat thing came out and some other goofy whatever. Right. Okay, what did we just learn 6 weeks ago? Gina Haspel, as director of the CIA under Trump, authorized to be paid off so that they would change their assessment on COVID origination.
Correct.
That's not a Patel thing.
That's CIA.
That's a CIA institutional decision to spend taxpayer dollars to lie to the world where COVID came from because it fit the narrative that Fauci and the media wanted out there, along with Gina Haspel, because she didn't want Donald Trump to get the credit for reading the intel right and making the hard right decision. But what happens is we're 2 years down the road from that, 3, and that story's been written. That iron has been cast. So half the public is like, what are you guys talking about? That's a right-wing thing.
That's good enough. So, Tron, I don't know, you want to comment about this?
Well, you were discussing earlier before the show that maybe he said too much and whatnot. And I was trying to find that information, but this is how they operate on the inside. And where is Gina Haspel right now? And this is why they fear Patel. This is why they're going to go after him and stop him from entering the White House, much like Donald Trump, a true government gangster. And this is what it's all about: is destroying this deep state. We see Wray transferring people to the higher echelons of the FBI in order to kind of further corrupt the FBI. So Patel has a dirty, messy kitchen. And again, Gina Haspel, guys, threatened to resign over a plan to install Patel as a deputy. So, and this is why we see Boss kind of scaramouching, putting people in and out. Is Patel going to be there at the end of the day? Who knows? But it made Christopher Wray remove himself from the equation. So Gina Haspel, right there, guys, scurrying there, threatened to resign in early December after Boss cooked up a little plan there. But yeah, behind the scenes, guys, he grew up to distrust her. We know the whole story, and then Esper as well. But things are heating up with the the tick-tock of the clock, and I can't wait to see what happens as days pass by, man. That one weekend, Act Blue too.
Yep, and then we got this little tidbit as well that came out related to Act Blue and their foreign gift cards. A lot of this was Ukrainian money. But it wasn't just Ukrainian money. And Act Blue was taking millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars and didn't stop it. And it's an illegal act. Now, people are saying, "Oh, WinRed did this too. WinRed did this too." We'll have to see where this investigation goes because I think
you got to remember, Act Blue was accepting donations from China without having only a credit card number, none of the other verification you needed, no address or anything like that. I dropped the link for the entire video of Patel that our doc was playing. I dropped that in the chat for you. It was from Glenn Beck a year ago.
Yep, and you already got the role for Kerry Lake. Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's close that. All right, we're going on to the next tidbit. Let's see where we want to go. Let's go to France first. We're gonna start in France. We're gonna make a world tour. All right, so here we go. Here is Donald Trump. He went to Notre Dame, okay, and he went and he visited with Macron and he visited with Zelensky. Now I want you to watch this. This is awesome. Watch the handshake. They're arm wrestling. Okay, so that's one of them. Okay, there was other instances. Macron couldn't keep his hands off him. Okay, and then this one is one that got attention. President Trump is dominating world leaders with his hand. I mean, he literally is squeezing the hell. Look at the knuckles white on there. This is awesome. And Macron is probably in pain right now, but Macron was grabbing on Trump, hugging on Trump, kissing his butt, all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, here we go. Here's
that things have to change, and they have to change right now. Is that things have to.
So that's Macron, washing. I'm sure that's AI. I don't think he really did that. Does anybody know if that's real? I don't think it's real, guys.
I got one for you. Go grab it out of chat real quick.
I think I've got that one with the money. I have that. I passed it by. He's shaking Zelensky. Actually, that's later on when we get to the laundry wash machine. But I do have, when they did meet with Zelensky, we did get that photo op. And this is actually a live human bar chart. Okay, so yeah, they did meet and they had some talks, and of course Zelensky, Donald Trump Jr. is picking up Jack Posobiec's deal, and Elon Musk is laughing about it. That says it all right there. And then we'll come back to France in a little bit here in a second because, well, actually we'll continue on because he's got issues of his own. We've covered this before. He's got, I think tonight, or it's Saturday. It's Saturday. He has to name the prime minister by, or maybe it is Friday morning. It says Friday morning. So maybe it's happening right now as we speak. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here, same time in France. So he may have already named the prime minister. I haven't picked up the story, but we'll definitely have it tomorrow. We'll have it for next week. So we'll see who he comes out with. We'll see what the parties do. They're trying to play games again and make sure that National Rally doesn't have a voice in this pick. They're trying to do the Republican coalition is what they're calling it, and not like our Republicans, but anyway. And one of the things that he did do is he ran to Poland in response to something related to joint peacekeeping with Ukraine. We'll talk about that more in just 1 second. And because he didn't like what he heard from Donald Trump about NATO and such. And then of course, no. Oh, he had to make fun. Both him and Tusk are making fun of the handshakes, mocking Donald Trump. So the handshake was a big deal. He trolled Macron, who laughed at him behind his back, and then here are these two idiots laughing at Trump and trying to troll him back. So I wanted to start with France first. So let's jump all the way back across the world and let's go back to Ukraine. And all right, so during that meeting with Zelensky, one of the key things that came out and is being broadcast to the world is Donald Trump's opinion about what he is thinking about this war in Ukraine. And he said, I'm against Ukrainian attacks on Russia with American long-range missiles. It's dangerous and stupid. This leads to an even greater escalation, said Donald Trump. Well, what happened today? or
Most
yesterday.
important updates are coming from the Rostov region, where the Ukrainians, according to information we have, attacked the city of Taganrog with the use of a significant number of ATACMS missiles. Taganrog was subjected to a missile attack at night, the acting governor of the Rostov region reported. And very likely the Ukrainians were trying to attack the main Russian base, the headquarters of Russian army, but the Russian air defense was too strong and the Russians managed to bring down every single missile. So maybe this is exactly what happened. Anyway, if the Ukrainians indeed were trying to attack the headquarters of the chief of the general staff of the armed forces of the Russian Federation, that means that most likely soon the Russians will respond with Oreshnik missile.
All right, so the response with the Oreshnik missile, and so here we go. State
publicly
Pentagon
intends to launch another experimental Oreshnik missile, as you mentioned. It's possible that Russia could do it in the coming days. I don't have an exact date for you. I think it's important to note that should Russia choose to launch this type of missile, it's not going to be a game changer on the battlefield. It's just yet another attempt to inflict harm and casualties in Ukraine.
Blah, blah, blah. So the Pentagon knows what they did. The Pentagon knows, hey, Donald Trump said this, and so we went ahead and shot a missile at Russia. We didn't shoot it at the Kursk region, like Biden said, because of these North Korean troops. Remember, that was the whole rationale, to be able to shoot these missiles into the old Russian territory, or the special military operation Russian territory. Biden said very clearly, and so did all the Pentagon and the State Department, this is for use around the Kursk region to make sure that Ukraine can defeat, the North Koreans, which has been an escalation. The North Koreans, an escalation, 100,000 North Koreans. Not a damn North Korean. You ain't seeing anything about that reported in the media anymore, because they didn't exist. They never existed. The few North Koreans are training at bases that may be in the area, but they're not hundreds of thousands, and they're not involved in the conflict. So it's all crap. It was all lies. When are we going to just say, shut the hell up? You're lying. When is Trump or somebody going to get in there and just say, shut up, you're lying. Turn them off. Turn off the air. Remove their license. You're lying. Anyway, it's just insane, just the kind of lies that they get away with. So yeah, there was an aviation plant that was next to this Taganrog air base, and just to kind of show everybody, because I am going to show this really fast. This is where Taganrog Air Base is, to show you the perspective, because we need to understand Romania, Hungary, and Poland, and here's a little Serbia and Georgia, all these little places that are going to be hot spots in the news. It's really important to understand where they're at. And a lot of Americans don't understand the map. But Romania is right here. Very important country, and we're going to talk about Romania and what's going on a little bit. But Taganrog Air Base, in this little place, there's Rostov-on-Don, where Gerasimov is living. And here's where Taganrog is, this little air base here. So they could have shot way up here in Kursk. Right up here in Kursk, where these North Koreans supposedly are. But they didn't. They shot their 6 missiles over here at this air base. And what did they hit? They hit an airfield. Well, they didn't really hit the airfield, because 2 of the missiles were taken out by a Pantsir machine gun. It's a very fast-firing, rate-of-fire machine gun. Here's a satellite view. And I think we can see it in the satellite view. No, something went wrong. It won't reload. Oh, there we go. Maybe the picture will load. Yeah, we can see it. Next to this airfield, there's a plant, and I can't remember exactly where the plant is. It may be right here. And there's a parking lot. I think this is the parking lot here. And essentially what happened, these ATACMS, they're like cluster munitions. They're not heavy penetrating weapons. They're cluster bombs, small diameter cluster bombs to be exact. And so they're good at punching holes and anti-personnel and maybe damaging helicopters and aircraft on the ground, whatever. And you can see there's aircraft here and this factory right here and this parking lot. Well, that's exactly what they ended up. Some of the debris ended up falling. I'm not going to play the video because my resources won't work. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, here's a little bit of video where you kind of see just some minor damage to this building that was a barracks for the 6955 whatever, air brigade. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was seriously injured. And that was basically it. And then here is, this is where I guess I'll throw it in here. This is a story. I'm not going to play it because it's all in Ukrainian. But essentially, whoops, why can't I minimize it? This guy is talking about, he's a minister of their Congress, the Rada, Vyatrovich, and he's talking about a new comic book for kids about the Nazi criminal Bandera. It's called Batko Our Bandera. It's a book about a little hero that goes around and does stuff and is pro-Ukraine and all this other stuff. And this is on the Lviv-based NTA TV channel. So this is my little Nazi segment for the segment. I had it back here. So yes, we had escalation in Ukraine with attack of missiles directly in response because Donald Trump said, I don't plan on doing attack of missiles. He sent the signal ahead of time saying that I'm against using these missiles and they have been used for 4 weeks. 4 weeks. This is the 4th time they've been used, ATACMS missiles. It's the 5th attack overall, I think. And yeah, 3 with ATACMS and 1 with the Storm Shadow missiles, and this would be the 4th ATACMS, I believe. Has been this long gap after Gerasimov talked with Lloyd Austin. Well, Biden, some of the administration, they decided to go ahead and shoot the missiles and escalate and stir things up. Why? Well, because Biden wants to burn the world before he leaves office. So during that meeting, also, he made it very clear to Volodymyr Zelensky, and he made a statement to the press that Ukraine is ready for peace. So as he's talking, he didn't let Zelensky throw him under the bus this time. He went straight to the media and immediately said, quote, he wants to make peace. That's something new. He wants a ceasefire. Trump told the New York Post. Zelensky, the Republican, said, thinks it's time. So he is basically making Zelensky starting to be irrelevant. He's talking for Zelensky. He's saying Zelensky says this, Zelensky says that. He's not letting Zelensky define himself to the media. He's defining Zelensky to the media and what Zelensky's saying. So then this forces Zelensky to come out and say some things. Oh, and Zelensky got upset. He did not like that being forced to stand there on camera while Trump was saying this. And so as soon as he gets into his little comfort zone and he talks to his little handlers, he starts going on there and he's talking security guarantees. He's talking, hey, I need NATO. I need all this other stuff. And he's told no. Here's what happened. He was 40 minutes late to the meeting. He basically trolled these two guys and showed up 40 minutes late, disrespected their time. Then when he got there, he spent all of 25 minutes, 10 minutes for photo ops and 25 minutes for talking to them. And during that time, he told him, no. And he said, NATO is likely going to be a problem. And yeah, we might pull out of NATO unless y'all start immediately paying your fair share. And don't count on us, Zelensky, for continued money support. And that sent the message. So he went to Poland. He went, talked to his handlers in the EU and starts talking about stuff. And he went to cry to Daddy Biden. Okay. And then what happens? Viktor Orban shows up at Mar-a-Lago. Viktor Orban is ending his 6-month stint as president of the European Commission. Von der Leyen is the head of the European Union. She runs kind of administratively the European Union, but the president's role is rotating. It's kind of powerless, but he does have some things he's been doing. And one of the things he's been doing is running around trying to be a mediator, not a facilitator, but and not an official envoy or peace negotiator, but more like a mediator, like pushing people in the right direction, asking their opinions and so on and so forth, and communicating it to people. And so he goes to Trump and he asks Donald Trump his opinion. Very important the way they're phrasing this stuff so that as not to convey that Donald Trump is already enacting policy on behalf of the United States before Joe Biden's term is up. But Trump is expressing his opinion and his belief about what should happen. So Viktor Orban, who is he's the man now in Europe. He is the man, and the Europeans don't like it, is meeting with Trump, gets his opinion, and where does he go? Well, after he gets done meeting with Trump and everybody discussing Ukraine and understanding, and Trump is relying a lot on Orban to shape his view and his policies about, I think, what is going on. He's respecting Orban's opinion about what's going on in Ukraine. And so what does Orban do? He puts out a call to Putin. Now, is he mediating for Donald Trump? Is he specifically relaying a message for Donald Trump? Everybody has said no, that didn't happen. Everybody thinks it did happen, whatever. But what he did do, and the Russians gave a readout of the call, is he talked with Russia about Syria, extensively about Syria. He talked about a Christmas ceasefire, and he talked about the overall situation and trying to get to a peace negotiation. And I'm sure he relayed Donald Trump's opinion about what needed to happen in Ukraine. And I'm sure that Orban relayed his opinion, Putin's opinion, back to Trump at some point in time, or will do so, or it's become known. So Zelensky was not happy. Zelensky criticized Orban, and the word was that, Ukraine won't do Christmas ceasefire. So Orban was trying to get, just for one day on Christmas, both sides to stop fighting and do a big prisoner exchange. Just issue a statement to everybody. Everybody freeze what you're doing. No shooting, no fighting. Everything, is closed for Christmas. And do a prisoner exchange just for one day. And immediately the Ukrainians came out and said no. Russians said, okay, we'll talk about it. We could do this. Okay. And Zelensky said, I didn't say no. I didn't say no. And he starts criticizing the Hungarian prime minister. One of his own, I think in the foreign ministry, the deputy foreign minister called Orban an effing twat or something like that. Something really, really bad. It was bad. Something on Twitter that should have been deleted. And Orban came right back and said, no, you rejected the Christmas ceasefire. We did propose this to you, and you guys immediately rejected it. So Zelensky's trying to weasel his way out. And so what's going on here? Well, you now have two instances within 48 hours of Zelensky being made to look the fool, Zelensky being made to look irrelevant, Zelensky being made to look obstructionist in this peace effort. Okay. And meanwhile, the soldiers in Ukraine, the citizens of Ukraine are sitting there thinking, maybe we'll have peace. And then they hear and see what's happening up at the top, and they're like, why are you being an obstructionist? The soldiers don't want to fight. They don't want to die. And we're going to get into that in a second. And Zelensky's over here going, no peace, no peace. And Biden's over here escalating by shooting ATACMS. And no peace, no peace. This is a intentional manipulation of the situation in the media to make Zelensky irrelevant. Very important to understand this. So what does Zelensky do when he gets the word from Donald Trump that, hey, we may be cutting off our funds? Zelensky goes running to Daddy Biden, and he's like, "Yeah, we don't want to involve NATO militaries of other country, but we need security guarantees. We need security guarantees, and NATO says it is the security guarantee." Okay, well, Here's what he actually said, and this is in Ukrainian, but you can read the bylines at the bottom. But I want you to hear his tone. Let's make this bigger.
І нема сенсу обговорювати з президентом Трампом те, що сьогодні ще поки він не в Білому домі, від нього не залежить. І нема сенсу обговорювати з президентом Трампом те, що...
Okay, let's read this. There's no point in discussing with President Trump something that today, while he is not yet in the White House, it's not up to him. Okay, that's basically, he's going to Biden. What does he want to do? There's only one meeting left with NATO before the end of Biden's term. He and all of the European leaders are desperate to get Joe Biden to sign off on allowing Ukraine into NATO. He wants all of Ukraine into NATO, including the contested areas that are currently war zone. That's a clear violation of the NATO Charter. Okay, the peace plan that's currently being floated around out there says, no NATO for at least 10 years, maybe longer. This is the insanity that is in this man's head and in all these people sitting at the table here. Why is it insanity? Because he's talking about security guarantees, and this is what you're going to see in the media, push in the media. Here's Macron meeting with the Polish Tusk today or yesterday, saying, "Oh, Ukraine should be given adequate security guarantees." That's my Italian accent, not my French accent. Sorry. And look at the media. European powers pledge security guarantees to Ukraine as Trump looms. Trump is looming. We must be prepared for the dark cloud of Trump. Ukraine must be given strong security guarantees. European powers say Ukraine's path into NATO irreversible. Trump can't stop it. Germany, Baerbock demands tough security guarantees. NATO invite. Poland and France downplay Ukraine peacekeeping mission. Don't worry about it. We're thinking about it. No, they're not. Look at this. How many countries have security guarantees with Ukraine? Here's the answer. It's not just 30. It's over 34. Here's some articles back in January of 2024 that 30 countries were already signing up to become security guarantors of Ukraine. You know, those little papers that are meaningless, absolutely meaningless. We told you it was meaningless back when they were signing all these things with France and Britain. Here's one of the stories back in January 14th of 2024, almost a year ago. Ukraine has initiated negotiations of bilateral security agreements based on the peace formula developed in Davos. You know, that stupid meeting in Davos, Switzerland, that Russia didn't attend, where Ukraine and everybody else did, and said, here's what the peace plan is going to look like. Total capitulation of Russia. Well, Ukraine's losing. Russia's not. So it's like this is a waste of paper. And literally, it's not worth the paper it's written on. Here's a Romanian delegation at the time. Romania is an important aspect of this. You know, they signed a security guarantee. Poland signed a security guarantee. Germany signed a security guarantee. As a matter of fact, here's all the bilateral security agreements that have been guaranteed for Ukraine. United Kingdom, France, Germany, Denmark, Canada, Italy, South Korea, Montenegro, Netherlands, Finland, Latvia, Spain, Belgium, Portugal, Sweden. Look at all these security guarantees. What security guarantees do you need? We need NATO. We need NATO now. Give NATO now. And here they are talking about, hey, we're going to send troops now. Screw the security guarantees. Let's just send some troops. So we can really screw Trump then. Polish troops will not enter Ukraine even after the ceasefire, says Donald Tusk after meeting with Macron. Sorry there, Macron. Your history, you're about ready to lose your presidency. You're a couple years early. Your second prime minister is likely going to fail in 3 months' time, and you'll be gone then too. So Macron is politically trying to be the king or the emperor of Europe, and he's failing. And so that is your current status of your Ukrainian peace negotiations. Any comments from the panel before we move into the washing machine? Okay, everybody's eating. This is when they take time to eat. Okay, so there was big news. Donald Trump had a meeting with Meet the Press, and the Russians certainly picked up on this, and so did the Ukrainians. Listen up.
Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into office?
Yeah, probably. Sure.
You said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office. You're actively trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin
No, I have
since
not.
you've been
You
elected?
mean, well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
I was just going to say, I thought it was funny that they were attacking them with
I don't want to say
attackums.
anything about
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. So she's really digging. She wants him to say something here that will get him in trouble, and he won't do it. He has changed in his way he's talking to the press now. It's really interesting to watch. So here is Donald Trump. Now this is a truth on True Social from Donald Trump. Ready for this? Here he is trolling Biden. How Bidenomics works. What do you guys want to read this really quick? Space Shot, you still there? Anybody?
Bidenomics, you pay the taxes. I send it to Ukraine. They send it back to Hunter, and then Hunter gives it to me. And then you pardon Hunter, guys. Part of this money laundering deep state schematic that has been proven quality for them, guys. They've been doing this for a very long time. Future proofs past, and it's all coming to an end, guys. That's how it works. 1 through 5. There is no step 6, I guess.
Here's another example of Ukrainian how it works.
What are you doing in Prague?
Just enjoy the city.
So it's holiday? Look this.
Oh.
Check that.
Okay.
Dude.
Oh wow.
Check it, count it.
Okay, I'm angry.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Hey,
Told you I would get to the prostitute.
Sorry about that butting in, that intrusion earlier. You know what was happening is I was doing some stuff. I'm actually listening on YouTube, and you're like, anybody have any comments? And that's when I came in and and then I went, oh crap, he's like 30 seconds ahead of me.
Sorry, man. Sorry. All right. So here, of course, I think he played this already. Did you play this one? I think this is one you played. I don't know.
I've asked this Congress to investigate where has this money gone. The American people are owed that answer because it's our money. It's our taxpayer dollars.
And there's a lot of really good reason to be concerned because, the Ukraine was known as a, place of corruption, a place for money laundering.
Yeah. It's not like we sent $1 billion, as if that was even a small number to begin with, right? We've sent 100 times that to one country. I don't know how this Congress is allowed to get away with it. And Zelensky is out there. He went on the world stage and said Russia fired a rocket into Poland, which would literally be an act of war. Well, it turned out.
Whoop. It stopped. You guys still there?
You used up all your internet?
Yeah, he just took my internet for the day. All right, anyway, Cash goes on to say how Zelensky, if everybody remembers the missile that went into Poland, and Zelensky blamed the missile on Russia and said it was Russia's missile. And we came close to, a World War III conflict because of an attack in a NATO country, which Zelensky and his team wanted desperately because they knew that would save their butts, even though it would destroy the world, right? Well, it turned out it wasn't a Russian missile. It was a Ukrainian surface-to-air missile that they shot into Poland, trying to shoot down the Russian missile, and oops, it killed some Polish. It killed a Polish farmer, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Cash Patel goes on to say this irresponsibility of Zelensky, when he comes and begs and stands in the well of our Congress and goes to our president and asks for billions and billions of dollars, and then he is that irresponsible to lie, to make stories up, to give us false information that could lead to war, that could jeopardize American lives, Cash Patel says that ain't gonna fly. And if that's the way that Trump and the administration feels, then we're on good footing. All right. So what did happen to yesterday or to the day before is Surprise. Biden escalates again, trying to piss off the Russians even more. Donald Trump's trying to do peace, trying to get peace going. And here they go. And they did a big no-no, crossed another red line. And they took the frozen Russian assets and they went ahead and used them as security collateral for loans to Ukraine. U.S. Treasury transfer. She did a big little ceremony in her office with all her staff around her, pressing a magic button that did absolutely nothing because the actual money doesn't transfer that way, and she didn't actually transfer a damn thing. But essentially, the $50 billion G7 loan for the World Bank Intermediary Fund for Economic and Financial Aid to the war-torn country, we sent $20 billion. Well, it hasn't been sent yet, but that's what's going to happen. And this is part of this official press release here in the U.S. Department of Treasury website here, where you can see how paid for by the windfall proceeds earned from Russia's own immobilized assets. Very careful words that they're using here. The $50 billion collectively being provided by the G7 through this initiative will help ensure Ukraine has the resources to sustain emergency services, hospitals, other foundations. We'll talk about the use of these funds and how they're working. We got one example to tell you that just made the news today, actually, in Ukraine, and it's pissing people off. So this is more money going into the Ukraine slush fund. Here's the White House comment back in October when this was all being kind of hashed around again, because they've been after this money for a year and a half, 2 years. They couldn't wait to get their little grubby hands into it. And all the kleptocrats in Europe are looking at this, and they know it's going to be spent on them, not in Ukraine, and they know that it'll never be paid back. Okay, so the Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration Loan. That's the key part I want you to remember here. And it was a decision by all the finance ministers of the G7. A lot of those people that made that decision are no longer there, and some of them are on their way out the door, like Schultz. Schultz will be gone. Macron will be gone. Okay, a lot of these leaders that made this decision are going to be history. And here is the USAID, because the USAID is the one who actually helps administer these types of loans. And of course, the USAID website that I want you to understand is this will be going into the World Bank's facilitation of resources to invest and strengthen the Ukraine Financial Intermediary Fund. These funds are slush funds, and they are subject to a lot of misuse and abuse in how the money gets apportioned out, because this is where Patel is talking about. You can't track it after a certain point because of the way it's administered into certain types of programs and NGOs and things of that nature. And ultimately, there is another entity that it talks about here, or maybe it was back in the Treasury section, or maybe it'll be in this article here. But how did this happen? Didn't Congress? I've seen these posts. Congress hasn't approved this. This is illegal. How can Biden do this? Well, yeah, they did. You remember that 6-month delay argument, and Mike Johnson finally capitulated, and the $95 billion aid bill to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Remember this thing, guys? Back in April 2024, okay, they had to wait for 6 months for this to get approved, and Donald Trump was against it, and then finally Donald Trump made a couple comments, said, hey, if some of this is a loan, as long as we're going to get paid back, well, it'll never get paid back. And so that's where this got approved. This is where this whole thing, the Congress gave to the Biden administration all these things, billions of dollars for Israel, billions of dollars for Ukraine, billions of dollars for Taiwan. And as part of this $26 billion oversight and accountability of aid and equipment provided to Ukraine. What? Oh, that's million. Sorry. Here it is. $23 billion to replenish defense articles and defense services. Well, how is that being administered? And this is the key part of the law that may have to be revisited, and we'll have to take a look at. But here's the actual law. You can go look it up on the website. Actually, the title of the law: Ukraine Security Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2024. That's the House version, HR 8035. And then in the detailed text of the bill, you can get in here and you can scroll all the way down. You can start seeing where they got the language of how they structured this loan. They simply say, that the president must come up with some sort of a deal, a lending facility, blah, 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 to be able to do this, okay? Well, how is that structured? And this is where in Kiev actually has approved the terms of the loan from the FFB. And this is the key thing, the FFB, the Financial Intermediary Fund, is getting funded through what's called the Federal Financial Bank. This is a bank actually operated by the U.S. Treasury, and it has statutory authority to issue loans, to purchase securities, and do a bunch of other things. And so that's exactly how this thing is being structured, as a security purchase agreement. So basically they're going to issue a debt instrument that Ukraine is going to sign, and as collateral for that debt instrument is going to be interest QSIPs, essentially interest, promise to pay interest off of the billions of dollars that are in various different banks that are frozen, that may or may not be earning interest. They may be stuck away and not able to be earning interest, but somehow they're going to try to get this interest, or say that it will be used to pay this money back, and it will actually make debt service payments, because there's not the interest on the billions is not enough to pay the principal and the interest on this loan, which is 1.3% per annum plus the rate of U.S. Treasuries, I think. And so there's not enough money. There's not enough money to pay this back. Who guarantees this loan? Well, that's the U.S. federal government, the taxpayers. And when Ukraine crumbles, when Ukraine can't pay its bills, when Ukraine is no longer a country, this debt will fall on our children, another $20 billion, and another $20 billion out of the European Union, and another $3 billion out of Canada, and so on and so forth, however it goes. So it's a complete scam. And there's your federal financing bank. If you didn't know this existed and what it does, this is the world. This is the world of the federal government right here. Everything flows through this little entity right here. And a lot of scummy things go through that bank. All right, switching gears. Any questions on the Ukraine washing machine? Because it continues. Biden's trying to shovel as much shit through that washing machine as he can before he leaves office, just like Jake Sullivan said.
Doc, have they talked about rebuilding efforts yet? Because we know that that's where more money is going to be needed. Most of the money after the quote unquote war is de-escalated. The rebuilding aspect, has any companies been started or been tasked to accomplish this yet?
They've got some things. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about one of them here in just a moment, because I've got the story coming up here. As a matter of fact, yeah, here it is. We'll get into it. Yeah, I think this is the beginning of it. So this is a map, and it's near Pokrovsk. We've heard a lot about Pokrovsk. Okay, this is the Russian territory that they just gained. They've been pushing into this territory. And what's this little black line here? Well, those are Ukrainian defensive positions, and all these other things are Ukrainian defensive positions. Okay, well, let's back up for a second, and we'll get into this. So, this is a Ukrainian propagandist. He is a Ukrainian. He's pro-Ukrainian. He's editor-in-chief of CensorNet. His name is Yuri Butosov, Butosov. And his statement today or yesterday was that, hey, finally, we have a good fortified area was built near Pokrovsk for several tens of millions. It was 10 billion hryvnia. That's a lot of money. But they did not have time to send our soldiers there due to certain inadequate management decisions by the command. Now the key tactical speaking fortified areas has already been captured by the enemy without a fight. They entered there before the military command sent even one person there. As a result, tens of millions were spent, and our command gave this entire fortified area to the Russian troops. Okay, so he's spinning it. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. This is an example of fraud. So what is happening? Oops, where is it? Thought I had the rest of the story. Oh, yeah. This is part of it. No, that's not it. Hold on. Maybe I didn't grab it. Yeah, here it is. Okay. This.
Нихуя мы закатились он на хохлядские позиции. Нихуя они тут черти ебаные живут. Все, вон, все. Шпроти? Шпроти? Шпроти, нахуй. Все тут у них. Да. Козлы ебаные. Кровати еще нахуй в целлофане, блядь. Бункер во какой-нибудь. Охуеть. Окопы ебать в рот. 3 метра нахуй. Глубиной, но это завтра.
What do we got there? These are the fortifications. The Russians moved in. There are no Ukrainian troops there. The ones that were built, which are some of them, but not all. Here's the real situation. And to do this, we got to go look here. So this is Pokrovsk. Come on. There it is. And this is the area we're talking about here. This area right in here. This area was built up over the last, in 2023. In 2023, they designated some of the $7 billion for defensive positions. A large chunk of it was spent beefing up Pokrovsk. This was a key area for the Ukrainians. This is a key railway hub. This railway line, we've talked about this many times on the show. Okay, this key transit point to bring troops and weapons to the Donbass area, to the southern Donbass area, to Avdiivka, up north to Kramatorsk. This city was the key hub. Okay, and Ukrainians built up a defensive position, and they reported it as such. The generals reported it up the chain that they spent this money, they built all these defensive positions, and that they manned it. Well, they didn't build it. They stole the money, and the area was only maybe a few little things here and there were built. The rest of it is just open land, no defensive positions whatsoever, maybe a few things laying around on the ground, etc. They didn't build it. It was more corruption. This area wasn't under threat at the time. They could have built it, but they didn't. They stole the money instead. And so the Russians get there, the Ukrainian soldiers are like, screw this, we're not going to go out into the open fields here and defend these positions. And they deserted. They deserted. They are having a 10% per day desertion in this region. This is the Russian military is now made grounds into, this is Shevchenko. This is Shevchenko, okay? And this town is very, very important. This is the town that you hear everybody talking about where they have the lithium mines, guys. This is it. Right here, and the Russians pretty much just took it today. They pretty much just took it, and they are very close to. They are literally 1 kilometer away. Some mappers have them right here at this fortification. They take this fortification. They are not even 1 kilometer from being able to make entry into this little high-rise area. And they capture this high-rise area, and they gain a footing pretty much around here. By the end of the year, Pokrovsk is done. It's done. And there's nothing. You can look. There is nothing. They're rolling up the flanks. They're rolling up the flanks. This is the Karakova and Vasilo, this area here in particular. That's Velika Novosilka. Velika Novosilka. This area here is under a cauldron. And the Russians actually pulled back here. The Ukrainians made a big counteroffensive today and pushed into here, and the Russians pulled back to save their troops. They're just going to trick those forces away too. This is a cauldron. It's a cauldron, just like Karakova cauldron. The Karakova cauldron in this Uvspanivka fortifications area, this is a major area where the Ukrainians are stuck in 3 different cauldrons. This area is getting wrapped up in a cauldron. These guys are really connected. This is connected. There's troops stuck here, and then there's troops here, and they're starting to roll in to the northern fortified areas here and into the southern fortified areas here. All this stuff is falling. All of these guys are trapped. And then this is Karakova. This is another major area, and they've already pushed down. They're pushing this way to this town of Shevchenko, it's a different town, and this way. They're rolling up the flanks on these guys, which will trap all of these guys in a big cauldron. This is happening all over the front lines. It's not just here. Toretsk in New York area is falling as well, and then there's the Chasiv Yar area is falling, and then way up here in Kursk, this is the key. This is really, really important before the inauguration, because this is where Zelensky and Biden bet all of the money. Okay, the Russians have now entered into Ukraine right here. They've pushed into Ukraine. They're pushing south. They've taken this key area across the river, and they're pushing this way. They're pushing this way, and they're pushing this way. And essentially, they're starting to push into Suja now, into the southernmost parts of Suja. There's thousands of Ukrainians stuck up here. Thousands of them, some of their best trained troops and equipment that Zelensky and Biden put up there and said, you got to hold it. You got to hold it. This is your bargaining chip. It's a BS lie. Okay. The Russians just took some key areas here, and they're going to start pushing south here, and they're going to push this way. And these guys are pushing this way. They're cutting them off. And once they're cut off and these guys are done and destroyed, there's nothing on the way to Sumy. This will be done by inauguration. And if that happens, this is a huge damaging aspect to Zelensky, and it's a huge damaging aspect to Biden and the whole Biden administration. Everything about Ukraine is related to this little gamble here that they did in the Kursk offensive. Okay, so that's your overall highlights. Now, what's some of the realities going on here? This is absolutely amazing. This just happened today. Remember, I've told you the real number of Ukrainian dead, and I've tweeted this out, is over 1.2 million. It's closer to 1.4 million, and the number of wounded is almost 3 times that. Now, this is and Zelensky came out and says, 47,000. Donald Trump said 400,000 because that was a number that some people gave him. Who knows? Presidential Daily Briefing. Who knows where he got the number from? The Russians corrected him on their dead, which the Ukrainians supplied, and that number was like 700,000. Russians said, no, that's nowhere near. And Ukrainians, Zelensky said, this number is 47,000. Here's this. I think it's ABC News. Listen to this.
That's only a small part. In just 2.5 years of war, about 1 million Ukrainian soldiers have died. And according to the most optimistic estimates, hundreds of thousands have lost limbs. These statistics are incredible. Just incredible.
They admitted it. They admitted it live on the air. Somebody didn't censor that one. They admitted that the real number is 1 million. That is absolutely amazing. Absolutely freaking amazing. This must have been. Oh no, here it is. Yeah. I think I already read that one. How they surrendered the lines in Pokrovsk, etc. They did the Pokrovsk thing. This is a positive thing. This is on the Russian side. Remember Mariupol, that city that was devastated? The Russians and many Ukrainians, thousands of Ukrainians, have crossed back into Russia from the European Union to go back home to Mariupol. And even in Russian-held territories, now Russia. That may be a YouTube strike, so I'll stop it. All right, this is a grocery store in Mariupol, and this is what they got. They got meat, they got vegetables, they got water, they got everything you could want. Okay, this is Mariupol returning to normalcy in the absence of war under Russian control. And anyway, that's just interesting note there. Polish Defense Minister Kosiniak-Kamysz said that how bad is the situation in Ukraine since President Zelensky is publicly expressing deep gratitude to Donald Trump and announced that as a result of the meeting in Paris, action to end the war is an absolute priority. What do you think? Of course, the situation has changed and gotten much worse in a matter of weeks. The Russians have very much accelerated their offensive. They are capturing a lot of territory, and in the Kursk region, the Ukrainians have taken. They are advancing every day, more in a month than in all of 2023. They have overcome this barrier of regaining territory in an unusual and extremely rapid way. That's the first thing. Of course they have. They spent all that time attriting everything you threw at them. They stayed in the defensive mode, saved their manpower, and used their overwhelming artillery and air power to destroy Ukrainian assets, personnel, and Western weapons 3 times over, 3 armies over, to the extent that we can't keep up with manufacturing capacity and production to meet their needs, let alone our own. This was easily foreseeable. So here's Zelensky, and he's made a big tweet. And what's he complaining about here? Well, he's complaining because the United States, Blinken and Biden and everybody's telling him, hey, we'll give you some billions, we'll give you money, we'll equip anybody, but you got to lower the age for fighting age. You got to lower it to 18 years old. Right now it's at 25, and that was a battle, a political battle, to move it from 26 to 25. Okay, and as it is now, really? young people are running all over the place. Yeah, the youth of Ukraine are something that they protect, and the babushkas, the mamas, they will go to war. You will have a real Maidan coup on your hands if he lowers that. So what does he say? Told Biden and Blinken no. He said no. I will not lower the age to 18 because he knows if he does, he's done. He's history. So that was big news. And then I think
that really does, dude.
I know.
I would have thought it would have been like 17.
No, here's.
So we've had conversations with the government of Ukraine about the security situation it faces in the east.
You bump that up at all?
Speak to this somewhat.
No. He's basically, hey, we talked to Ukraine. We want them to, get their people out there and fight. Get the people. Here it is, actually in writing. We had the discussions with Ukraine. You heard the Secretary of State talk when he was in Brussels. Ukrainians decide on the composition of their forces. We made it clear that if they commit additional forces, we are prepared to equip those forces. Okay. Well, it ain't gonna happen. There's no more men to throw out there. The people of Ukraine are evading. They don't want the war. And the ones that are there are deserting. The ones that are there also know that peace is being discussed. And therefore they're being risk averse. They don't want to risk their lives. They don't want to die for Zelensky. And so he's being made irrelevant again. And here is Rustam Umarov talking about the billions of dollars that were spent intended for the construction of fortifications in Dnipropetrovsk area. And he basically says, stop speculating about the national security and really you need to support Zelensky. He literally says this in response to where's all the money gone? Where's the fortifications? He says anyone who has been to Ukraine knows very well that our roads are fortifications. Talking about the potholes. The Ukrainian roads are notorious for having poorly maintained roads with large potholes. That's his sarcasm, and the fact that he has no clue where $7.3 billion went for fortifications because, well, he wasn't the defense minister then, but he should know. 42 of 50 Ukrainian generals have been replaced. There are only 8 left. They have a major leadership issue going on in the Ukrainian armed forces right now. All right, so that takes care of Ukraine. We've gone all the way through the
Hey,
escalation.
real quick.
Yep.
In a response to what Tron was saying earlier about how they're going to need money to rebuild later. Remember we were talking about was that guy Patrick that used to, well, he probably still does on
Lancaster.
YouTube. Yeah, so he was showing that they were actually rebuilding some parts of Mariupol pretty good, and I think
Yes.
that was
Oh, yeah.
the Russians that did that, right? Wasn't that what they were saying or reporting?
Yeah, Russians and North Korean and Afghani labor. No kidding. No kidding. You can't. All right. So let's get into Syria because we got to get into Syria. Very, very important. So again, here is the Syria overview, and I want people to understand what we're dealing with here. So that's why I brought the map out. All right. So here's Iran. Okay, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and we're going to zoom in, and here's Turkey. And here's Greece. Very important to understand Greece and Cyprus. Greece and Cyprus and Turkey had a conflict. It related to parts of Cyprus and parts of Greece. And Syria is a key relationship with Greece and Cyprus. Okay, we zoom in a little bit more. Here's Georgia. This is Russia. There's Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria. Here's Armenia, Azerbaijan. These are all places we hear about that I talk about all the time. But I want you to understand the relationship. So down here is, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and so on and so forth. The Straits of my God, my brain just shut down. Yeah, Hormuz, thank you. And there's your Red Sea and Yemen. Okay, so the ships have to come around here to bring the oil stuff and then back down. Okay, to get into the Med. Well, or else there's pipelines, and one of the pipelines is Qatar, and the Qatar pipeline going into mostly through the territory of Iraq. But also then into Syria and into the Mediterranean. There's different ways that they want this thing to go or had plans for it to go. Israel wants it to go through Israel. Syria wants it to go through Syria. Qatar had a relationship with Hamas and a somewhat interesting relationship with Syria. Okay. Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, is no longer the president of Syria. He is in Russia. The Russians worked out a deal with Turkey and others to let him flee. They faked the crash, so to speak, that was reported by Ukrainian state intelligence, which was BS. All right, but I want you to understand Syria. Now let's focus in on Syria a little bit. This long border with Turkey here. Okay, this is all Syria, and then this is Iraq. Okay, and this little bit here is Iran. And Iran, in order to get into Syria to be able to supply, they have to go through Iraq. Okay, and this is a mountainous region. This is a very heavily mountainous region. And then over here in Raqqa, this is where all those oil fields are. And the U.S. have military there. The U.S. has military here. There's oil under USA control here. We got here, this whole area along, this is the Euphrates River, okay? And this side of the Euphrates River, you notice is colored yellow. Well, this is kind of what you would call the pro-Kurdish SDF forces are in control here. And then you had, this is the civil war that was going on here, and the United States kind of keeping this alive by supporting these Kurdish Syrian fighters. This is where your PKK guys are at. The ones that Turkey doesn't like, the ones that Sweden allowed to be in their country back and forth, the ones that Ukraine allows in back and forth. And then within here, Aleppo, this area also is very close to Turkey. Hold on a second, got a cat issue.
Tell it, ma'a.
Feed me, our Dr. D.
No, he climbed on something he shouldn't be climbing on. Okay, you might hear him now. Anyway, I don't want him to come. I want him to go. Got the word for go. All right. No. All right. So down here along this area here, you have the Russian military bases. Okay, Tartus is a Russian naval base and fleet, and then Jabal, and then I think there's this other Latakia. Yeah, Latakia. These are areas that the Russians held very strong bases on, and these bases, a lot of people were saying the Russians have to leave their bases. Ha 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 ha. Okay, well, no, not so fast. All right, so everybody understands the relationship going on with the borders, except Israel. Let's down here. So this is the Golan Heights here, and Israel pushed into Lebanon, pushed into Syria and Lebanon, and took this area before. Then, just since this conflict started in 10 days, 14 days, however, they pushed up close here to almost Damascus. This is Damascus. Okay, they're like 20 kilometers away from Damascus, and they took Mount Hermon, and they took this area called Kalatal Jandal, something like that. Okay, sorry. When under the guise of protecting their border, and we have the Western media all talking about, oh my God, yeah, Israel has a right to defend itself. This is not defense. You can make the case that it is, but it's not. Meanwhile, Turkey wants to kick these guys out, wants to get rid of this threat on its southern border. It has plans for territory. Okay, and so I wrote this to the guys the other day, and I'll read it just really, really fast because we're short of time. Turkey, Erdogan, he wants a Sunni caliphate. Okay, so he will expand into Syria to take land. They don't want a Kurdish state or rebels on their southern border, but Kurdish fighters, terrorists are backed by U.S. neocons like Lindsey Graham. Okay, and Lindsey Graham has a nice little tweet here somewhere that I can show. Oh, by the way, here's your Q post. Look at the timestamp. December 7th.
The same day that allegedly he fled or dead, or the stories that came out. But isn't that interesting, man? And there's not too many Assad drops, man. And the fact that it's a picture with the whole crew right there. I mean, talk about timetable, man.
That's al-Baghdadi back there. That's al-Baghdadi right there that Trump killed during the Conan raid. Okay, yeah. This is back during the day, Daddy, and then meeting with that's Al-Walid bin Talal bin Abdul Aziz. That's the cat is just going nuts and just killing me. But yeah, this is Mustafa Muaz, Sakar Muaz. Everybody remember us back in the day raiding and talking about Sakar Muaz and then the woman, I forget her name.
He's in the White House too. I think he's been there before.
Yeah,
right?
Connects with Paul Ryan.
Yeah, they were senior policy advisors, him and the gal, and they would go advise both. They were on various different senatorial staffs, both Republicans and Democrats, and McCain and Lindsey Graham were running around with them. These are all basically sectarian leaders of ISIS and Al Qaeda and different Syrian freedom fighters. Her specialty, there she is. Her specialty was to run around and go and talk to, I think, 150 different tribal leaders. And like, you don't, as a woman, you don't get to go do that unless you got some force behind you. Let's just put it that way. All right. So Lindsey Graham is over there talking smack. If I can find Lindsey Graham's tweet. I know I had it there somewhere. Maybe not. I don't have it here. Maybe I had it somewhere else. Anyway, I'll find out later. So let me go back to this deal so we can get through with this. So in Idlib, so in the map, this is the area that the U.S. is supporting those Kurds. Okay, in Idlib, where this whole conflict started, it was under the control of the Shia terrorist al-Jilani. That's his name now. It used to be something different. He's not Syrian. He was the leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq, and he worked with Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who Trump killed in the Conan raid. Al-Jilani ran the city of Idlib as a Sharia law city with 4 million people, and that relied on international aid shipments coming through the Turkish border 2 times a day to feed them. Just to kind of get familiar, Idlib and Aleppo and that whole area is up in this area here. Okay, so he's getting free food from international whatever, and he's running a city of 4 million people that have Sharia law. Okay, and they're ISIS, so they're Shia. You now then have Jilani says he wants a peaceful and loving transition, and the Western media is fawning all over this guy, and he's getting captured in photos with Israeli clothes on. He's literally wearing an Israeli uniform that has the name printed on it, for the manufacturer. That's an Israeli manufacturer. These guys, when you're a diehard, pro-Sharia, pro-Gaza guy, you don't buy Israeli stuff. You don't wear Israeli stuff. It's just anathema. But he is doing it. Okay, so his people are showing what they really want. They started murdering and killing and purging Druze, Christians, Awalites, Arabs, Kurds. They don't consider these guys as Muslims. They consider them as apostates, these Awalites, which Syria has a lot of them. Kurds, and especially Sunni Muslim elite in the country. Jilani doesn't want a Shia caliphate. This is important to understand. He doesn't want to create a caliphate of this whole area, like an empire. He wants just a state. He wants just a Shia state. And so he was captured and imprisoned by the U.S. at one point, and he was released, and he's been working with us, Western countries, to help the people of Idlib and common interest to overthrow Assad for many years now. Now, what does Netanyahu want? Israel. They want greater Israel. Netanyahu laid out plans to lobby U.S. to do its fighting to remove Lebanon, Syria, Libya, Iraq, and Iran, and I think Sudan was in there too. South Sudan and Somalia. Okay, under the pretext of securing Israel, he will expand control and maybe even take Damascus all the way up to the border with Iraq and Iran in the northeast to provide a runway for U.S.-led invasion of Iran. That is part of a plan that the RAND Corporation has had published for years, that Obama started executing in 11 to 13. 13 is when it really went into effect, right before Ukraine. We shifted to Ukraine to take heat off of the crap that we were getting into in Syria. U.S. now controls all the oil-producing assets in Syria. They used to control about 80%. Now it's 100%. Turkey and or Israel would have to challenge U.S. for control of this territory, and they will not do it. Al-Jilani will not do it. His little freedom fighters know to stop and not go there, and they will not do it. Russia holds key port cities and bases that allow shipment of food and flour into and out of Syria through those ports to Muslim countries in Africa as well. And so all parties, including the Turks, the Islamic terrorists, the Israelis, they've already worked it out with Russia. Nobody's forcing them to leave. It's expected that Russia will draw down their forces at some point in time, and but they're going to be allowed to stay there. And as a matter of fact, the word is now the Muslims, the Jilani guys, the new interim government is seated, and they said, yeah, they're working on a deal right now to make sure that those bases can stay there and the Russians can be there. They want the Russians there. Isn't that weird? The Russians were just bombing them a couple days ago. It's a trap. Okay. With this setting, Biden believes he has done a great thing by overthrowing Assad. As a matter of fact, here he is.
What comes next? The United States will work with our partners and the stakeholders in Syria to help them seize an opportunity to manage the risk. You know, for years, the main backers of Assad have been Iran, Hezbollah, and Russia. But over the last week, their support collapsed, all three of them.
No, it didn't.
Because all three of them are far weaker today than they were when I took office. And let's remember why. After Hamas attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023, when much of the world responded
Okay.
hard.
He claimed credit, his brilliance, his strategy for Ukraine, why he did Ukraine. He said it was to weaken Russia and Syria so he could force Assad out. His attack in arming Israel to go wipe out and genocide Gaza and launch missiles into an embassy in Syria, killing Iranian diplomats and possibly doing assassination attempts in Iran itself. He's taking credit for it all. And he's saying it was all his big master plan so they could force Assad out and weaken Iran and Russia so they could eventually get Assad out and then start working on their Iran plan. That's what he's literally saying here in this video. Now, he's taking credit for it. Understand that this is a 2013 video, and he's saying it's a trap. This was set. This was a trap set for Iran, and Iran won't fall into the trap. And instead, it looks like they're going to be making this into a trap for U.S., Israel, and Turkey. And let's see. Yeah, the U.S. is supporting. Oh, this is the criminal prosecution of Assad before the attack. This is right after he said they won't honor the ICC court for Netanyahu, but they will do it for Assad. It's insane. So hypocritical. Yeah, is that the time thing you're talking to me about, Space Shot?
Time is a factor, but that was not myself.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try to get this wrapped up here and blow through this as fast as I can. I'm not going to get to all of it. U.S. is sending additional troops to Syria after Israeli seizes more territory. What? Why does that happen? And so here is Jeffrey Sachs. And if you do not know who Jeffrey Sachs is, I encourage you to learn and follow who Jeffrey Sachs is. Jeffrey Sachs is a professor now, but he worked in diplomatic circles of U.S., worked with the Russians, worked with a bunch during this early period of 90s and 80s and so on and so forth. All right. He's going to refer back to a Wesley Clark video, which has been circulating on the internet, and he's talking about this list that it was part of a plan that came out of the Israeli lobby and Netanyahu during this 10-year, 17-year period of time to basically utilize the U.S. to go and do all its wars and all its bidding for Israel to take out its enemies in the region and overthrow these governments for the greater Israel project. All right. And Iran is the one last list. So I encourage you to go out and find this and listen to it. He's very informative, and you can find him talking on the Durand and some other places. It will be really helpful to understand the perspective he's laying down and get perspectives from different places. Blinken is heading to Turkey. This is brand new news to discuss sending Syria massive weapon stockpiles to Ukraine. What I said earlier this week and last week, they're going to be going and getting those Russian weapons to try to send to Ukraine. Well, except the Israelis and others are blowing them up. So there's not going to be a lot to send, but they're going to go try to find whatever they can and get those weapons and stockpiles to Ukraine. Isn't that interesting? All right. So Syria and Russia is they're close to a deal with the rebels to retain the military bases. Here's the Russians actually returning some of their convoys returning, and in the video.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
They're like all happy and friendly, and nobody's fighting. So, according to the Clash report, Russian sources approached by Clash said the Kremlin is in direct contact with Syrian forces that captured Damascus and agreed in principle on returning to military bases in Syria. Russian officials emphasized they never fully withdrew from Syria, maintaining a core military presence at the bases. They pulled their navy out because Israel told them they're going to be bombing the fleet, the Syrian fleet, a bunch of missile frigates, and they destroyed those frigates, and the Russians brought their ships right back. Syrian rebels had help from Ukraine in humiliating Russia. This is, who's this report? From Lorenzo Tugnoli, FTWP. I'm not sure what FTWP is anyway, but this is common knowledge. They were in their patches. They've come back from Ukraine. We talked about this during the program, how there's thousands of them that were training in Ukraine. As a matter of fact, Ukraine sent specific drone forces to assist them. Here's we don't need to go into Torchka stuff. Let's see what else we got here. Lavrov talking about how Syria is now part of another geopolitical experiment by the West that will further destroy Syrians. All the people are cheering. All the people are cheering. Here's all the Syrian soldiers that abandoned their positions and left. Now, why did they leave? Why did they leave is a key question. And then here is an ultimate troll from the Russian ambassador to the United Nations. He said, the State Department recognizes al-Jilani as a terrorist and promises a $10 million for helping in apprehending Jilani. So I told the Americans, give to me this 10 million. I know how to help you, and we'll even point out where he may be hiding in Syria. That's an ultimate troll. Like, I want to collect the 10 million reward. I know where Jelani is. That's hilarious. That's true Russian sarcasm, is what that is. All right. So Biden thinks he's done this great thing in overthrowing Assad. He thinks he screwed Trump's ability to focus on the domestic agenda. The moderate Arab states will put pressure on Trump to secure Syria because they don't want it spreading out into the rest of the region. They will put pressure to join with the Turkish ally and to protect the Sunni Muslims and the Christians in Syria. Jelani's mission is to continue making headlines to anger U.S. Christians about radical jihadi Muslims killing Christians, especially as the Muslims begin anti-Christian attacks in Europe and possibly the U.S., i.e. the 16-year plan. Never forget the 16-year plan. Russia versus the U.S., a nuclear conflict, and Muslims overrun the European Union. China is the last man standing, essentially, is the plan. The Israeli lobby will put pressure on Trump to get involved in Syria to secure Israel and Christian interests in the region, as well as put a stranglehold on the Iranian economy, which Trump has talked about. There's a very high risk of a false flag in Europe or U.S. before the inauguration, maybe even against Trump himself, to try to blame Iran, in an effort to start a broader war that prevents the inauguration in a martial law setting. There's also a very high risk they will try to kill Trump before the inauguration and blame Russia and Iran. As a result, Trump is sending some very odd, conflicting messages. He can't sound too opposed, because otherwise the deep state will take him out. Okay? So he's made statements like, this is not our fight in Syria. We should not get involved. And Tulsi Gabbard reiterated the statement during coming out of a senator interview as part of her confirmation hearings. Contrast that with Waltz and Rubio, who are very anti-Iranian, and Trump's own statements about full pressure campaign against Iran. So what's going to happen? My prediction is this is a trap. And I think there's a reason why the Russians, the Iranians, and the Chinese did not come to Assad's aid. And it's a little complicated, but it stems from the fact that Assad shot himself in the foot. For several months now, he has been pissing on the attempts by the moderate Arab states and Iran and Russia and China to bring him into the fold and regurgitate him. He became part of the Gulf Cooperative Council. He became part of the Arab League. They invited him in, and they invited him to the BRICS meeting where Erdogan of Turkey was going to be there. Turkey, a NATO country, coming to a BRICS meeting so they could talk to him about normalizing relations with Turkey. And he didn't show. That sealed his fate to some degree. Plus, he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be running Syria anymore. He never really wanted it. He's not a dictator dude like his father was. He is an eye doctor, and his wife is suffering from cancer for the last several years, and this year leukemia, and she is undergoing treatment in Russia. So he is opening an ophthalmology shop in Moscow. Is the last thing I heard. It's absolutely amazing. So he pretty much wasn't willing to stand there, and the Syrian army, some of the generals he's recycled through, some of the true believer generals, the supporters that his father had, he cycled them out, and the army wasn't loyal anymore. They've been being worked on by the Iranian, the ISIS element, the Al-Qaeda element, and they basically just didn't want to fight either. And so if they didn't want to fight, the Russians and the Iranians basically said, what the hell are we going to do? We're not going to go send our people there to die if these guys aren't willing naval bases that much anymore. It's not 2015 anymore. The world has changed. So, you know, the oil, the pipeline, and they walked away. Or did they? And this is where the trap is coming. And this is where we have to look at what's happening today. And I'm going to end this so that Space Shot and it doesn't get angry with me. So some things to be aware of. Syria is having major religious problems. The Antioch, you're going to hear Antiochian Christians between the connection between my computer just froze. Look at that, Space Shot. How'd you do that?
Great stuff, Ardoc. All right, hold.
There we go. Hold on. So they're killing people all over the place. They're murdering theologians and intellectuals, Sunni Muslim intellectuals. No, they are. They're I got videos. That's why I
allegedly. Allegedly.
Let's.
Okay.
I got to roll, bro.
Okay.
TikTok.
Can I wrap up Syria or no?
Yeah. Go
No,
ahead.
dude. Like 2-minute wrap up, dude. We're 15 minutes past now. Let's go.
Okay. They're murdering a bunch of people, and they're not doing what they are saying. On one hand, they're purging. On the other hand, they're saying they're not purging. The Israelis and the Turks they're doing this common Islamic terror, hoping will happen so they can go in there and take more of the land. This is a pitfall that the Iranians and the Russians are planning and letting them do. They know that they're going to do this, and it's going to consume their weapons, consume their armaments. The U.S. will have to supply this, and Biden's hoping Trump will get sucked in. If Trump can stay out of it, and if Trump can end this with the Russians and the Chinese getting, I'm not sure how he's going to do it, but if he can do that, then this avoids a major, major problem. But again, saving Israel for last. More to come on this one. We don't have time to get into all of it. And the South Korea and China stuff will have to wait for another time. So tune in Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday for Coffee and Chill with Hulk and me, and we'll get into it. All right, later.
Yay. Thank you, Mr. Ardoc. Let me bring this one back up here. I want to thank you, everybody, for joining in the stream today. If you please leave a comment at the bottom of the video and a thumbs up, they'd be greatly appreciated here. Continue the rest of this on Saturday morning. I got some more I want to cover, and we'll go over that then. Tron, what's for dinner?
Guys, tomorrow night dinner, B&G. I will keep you posted. Tentative schedule change. My buddy has work maybe, so I'll let you know what goes on tomorrow night. If not, I will see you for Saturday night, the Wheel Show, guys. Keeping It Wheel, the music spectacular show where you guys drop links in the chat to music. I throw it on a wheel, we spin it, and if it lands on you, we play the music. If it's great, we're going to praise you. If it sucks, We're going to make fun of you and shame you and move on. Just kidding. No, it's a lot of, we don't have that much bad music. Just don't land the wheel on Elvis, guys. I don't know how that music, I'm not into that kind of stuff, guys. Give us some Rush, give us some Metallica, give us some Maiden, give us some old school, maybe some Beatles, some Tom Petty's good. Saturday Night Wheel Show, guys, and Sunday morning, the Great Awakening Morning Show, going off 4 years straight, guys. Me and Leonidas bringing the crumbs, the bread to the table, and man, so much bread to the table this week between Boston, New York City ringing the bell on the Delta of Santa Claus, and we had Delta Dan, hitting a 7-year Delta on justice with the Penny situation.
Crazy.
Again, back to that side. So a lot of things are lining up, man. And I'll tell you what, people often ask, hey, do you need new Q drops? And when's Q going to drop? Guys, we have more than we know. News unlocks the map. We are the news now. And here we are in 2024, rocking and rolling, literally unlocking this map, guys, like a game of chutes and ladders, yet in real life, and all under the guise of Commander-in-Chief Donald John Trump. Less than 40 days left, guys. So much love, have faith, be encouraged. We made it this far, and we're going to keep on going. Much love, guys. See you next time. And where we go one, we go all. Booms. Great show, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Tron. Mr. Ardoc, your final thought?
Okay. Do you got my stream up? My final thought is this video. I promised you I'd play this Hulk. It's 12 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's 12 seconds. You got it streaming? Okay. Yeah. So remember that video where Trump was sitting there and then Jill Biden was there? Watch this. Watch his face. He's not happy. So that was a Georgian president that we've talked about a lot. She came and tried to sit next to him, and she was very quickly ushered away because it wasn't her seat. And anyway, thought that was funny. All right, that's my final.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ardoc. Space Shot, what do you got?
Yeah, all sorts of very interesting deltas. We'll don't have time tonight. We'll show one on Saturday. My brother Patriot Politics showed me about today. Blunt. Look, let me see. Hold on. 3 days ago,
Blunt
the 10th.
Direct time?
Blunt and direct time on one of them, which is 12:10, and then also on 12:10 he was talking about this guy Ed Martin being the chief of staff previously to an Ed Blunt, but Ed Blunt is no such person. It's actually Matt Blunt. So I thought that was interesting. Also on 12:10. So thank you guys all for tuning in out there. Keep your guys' head on a swivel. It is getting interesting. What were we saying?
Check your Rumble rant.
Let me see. I read one earlier. I didn't. Oh, there we go. Dragonfly Sister. You're sorry, I didn't see that. It says, "Hey, Space Shot. Being from the East, I know the definition of this word. Tron wasn't sure about it, but I thought you had used it at one time. Bugaboo. Can you help me define?" The only reference I know, Bugaboo, is from like a rap song. You remember that song? You're a bugaboo, you're bugging me, I'm bugging you, you're just a bugaboo. I don't know. That's the only time I've ever heard that word used. So sounds like somebody's bugging you. Maybe I don't know. Maybe a girlfriend, bugaboo. Maybe bugging you like a girlfriend. I don't know. Nope. Sorry, that's about as much as I got on that one. But thank you for the Rumble rant out there. I mean,
Northerners don't know bugaboo.
No, what is it?
Not on this show.
Okay.
You on YouTube
All right.
still?
We're gonna get out of here.
Moving along
Thank you,
out
Scott,
there.
for hanging out with us tonight. It is much appreciated. Thank you for spending the couple hours with us. Again, please leave a comment in the bottom of the video that you're currently watching and smash the thumbs up button. Let's finish this all off on Saturday. And like Space Shot always says,
we do appreciate each and every one of you guys and gals out there for tuning in. And until the next video, thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Peace.
Much love. Be good humans.
Let's go. You're now tuned in to the Patriot News. Patriots United, that's a Patriot.